I'll tell you all about it.
That was real good. That was money, first of all.
Let's do another.
Hello again, everybody. I am Chris Knight, and this is The Real Review 3000, and it's another episode of Movie Talk with Chris and Stig. We're going to make sure we get this name right now, because we've messed it up, and go figure, Americans messing up names. That's just never heard of, right, Stig?
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't mind.
Well, I know. We just were talking about this, that Americans butcher many names from other countries, and sometimes we just take it and say, oh, well, that's got to be what it is, because that's how you would say it over here. And it happens so often, but I very much welcome the correction, because I like it. I guess since I've worked in public speaking and stuff, whenever I get a name and I'm like, okay, I don't know exactly how to say this, and it's like, just a little different or something like that, I will go to the person. I'll be like, how do you say your name? Because I would much rather say it, or if I do still butcher it, I'd much rather butcher it trying to say it right.
It's perfectly okay, Crass.
Oh, thank you. Is that how you guys would say my name over there?
No.
Oh, okay. Do you have Chris's over there in Norway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's just Chris. You see, that's the thing. Chris, you can't just... It's always going to be just Chris. Now, over there, is it more likely that like my full name's Christopher? Is it more likely that it'd be Christoph over there, or is that...
No, it's Christopher.
It's a Christopher. Okay. I don't know for sure. So, well, after all of that, we're here today with Movie Talk, and today we are definitely going to be talking about this movie you see here in the middle, Falling Down. Great little flick, upbeat little flick, very positive, and a lot of good, clean, wholesome, family fun messages, right?
Yeah, a lot of smiles in that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, actually, it's a very complex film, and I think you said it best when we were discussing this movie back and forth a little bit in our messages. You even said this movie is probably more pertinent and needed now than when it was made in the early 90s. If I remember right, it was early 90s, 93 if I remember right.
Yeah, it's absolutely more relevant today than it was then.
It is. And if you haven't seen the movie, I suggest you go see it, and also understand that we do go through this movie from start to finish. So there will be spoilers, like with everything. So if you haven't seen this movie, turn this off, go watch the movie, and then come back and let us know what you think about what we have to say. It's a movie, basically. Michael Douglas's character is an overworked American, just your everyday guy that goes to work, comes home, and eats dinner, goes to bed. That's kind of, you get that idea that that's all his life is. Drive in traffic one way, drive in traffic the other way, and that's about it. And his character, at the very beginning, they frame this movie to let you know that this character is very stressed. And what would you say about Michael Douglas's character in this movie?
He starts off as a very blank page, doesn't he?
He does.
And as soon as you see him, you can kind of sympathize with him right away, because he's trapped in traffic. It's obviously extremely hot that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's surrounded by several sources of common irritation.
Mm-hmm.
You have kids screaming and yelling. You have obnoxious people being loud. And there's a fly that keeps landing on him and biting him.
The honking.
It's like even is even annoying to watch
Mm-hmm.
because you just want to punch everything. And I noticed there was a little cut where we see a lot of blinking lights,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like a torture thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you've told me where you live and stuff, and we won't talk about that per se, but we will talk about the differences between where you live. I'm not sure what traffic's like in the town that you live in, and I'm not sure how bad traffic is out there in general, even in your large cities. Um,
It's nowhere near
yeah,
what you guys are going
but
through.
imagine
No
this.
chance.
This is in L.A. This takes place in L.A., and this actually is probably lesser than what it is now, what you see in this picture. So imagine this ramped up now, 20 some odd years later. But so it's everything around him is construction, irritants of every day that all of us have dealt with. Construction, honking horns when you're stuck in dead traffic. Traffic's not moving at all. These people, a person honks behind you. Why are you honking? Can you not see that we're not moving? Do you think honking your horn's going to push it? And that's what's going on in his mind probably. Is it's like, why aren't you going to shut up? And then the kids laughing and stuff. And I don't think he's irritated at the kids. He kind of sees that maybe that they just don't recognize the situation. I don't know. But there's a guy.
I also noticed that he's not able to lower the window,
No, his window's broke. His
and
AC
the
is
car in
broke.
front of him, I think, has a sign that says "Eat shit."
Yeah, well, one of them says don't like my or problems with my driving. Call 1-800 eat shit.
Yeah,
Um,
so all his senses, I
mhm.
guess, are being attacked.
There's a Jesus saves or something like that. There's this blinking light with the arrow, and it focuses in on that changing. Basically, what you get, and I think that let's talk about the director really quick, Joel Schumacher, which everybody wants to bring up Batman and Robin with Joel Schumacher. It is very important to point out that Joel Schumacher directed this movie, and I think this is a fine example of how he is with as being a director. But he, I think, puts you in his in Bill or Michael Douglas's mind. He puts you in his mind by
Yeah, and they did it
hyper
really
focusing.
well because I
He
was cringing.
Yeah, he hyper focuses on the things going around him. The guy on the cell phone, they're passing the cell phone back and forth and yelling, "Oh, I don't know, talk to him. You talk to him." That, and the guy honking the horn, the different bumper stickers, the light flashing, the kids laughing and screaming, and he focuses in on these things, and by doing so, he puts you in his position. You see, he can't open up his window, no AC. You obviously can tell it's hot because he's sweating, and then you add the final straw, which I think is the fly.
Yeah,
And what you get, in my opinion, since he can't kill the fly, you find that this man has no control over his area. He is that personal,
he's completely stuck.
yeah, that personal bubble.
I'm echoing, by the way.
Oh, well, I'll see. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. It seems to have gone away.
Okay, well, um, but it's like everything's attacking his personal bubble.
Yeah,
And
he's stuck and trapped, and
mhm,
I think the unavailability of lowering the window kind of is a symbol of that.
yes, most definitely. Um, and so he jumps out. He gets out, and you can automatically, as a viewer, you feel the weight drop because he, at least for the moment, feels a little more liberated. He's out of the box. He's out of this car, and I will go into saying that right there you get this. I see a symbolism of showing that he has now freed himself, and he has made a decision at this point to perhaps change his situation. Not necessarily for the better, but he is now broken out of this rut of his everyday routine.
Yeah, I think you might be spot on.
And you get that feeling that he has now liberated himself, made a decision, and a course. He's planned a course, and you don't know what that course is yet. And you and I, of course, and anybody else who's seen it, you know, but if you've seen it at the end of the movie, and you know where that course takes him. But I think this is where he makes that decision. I'm done with everything around me controlling my life. And
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the feeling you get when he walks, or when he basically breaks out of this box of his life. He's like, and the guy in the car says, "Hey, where are you going?" And he says, "I'm going home." And that's the beginning of it. That's our introduction to Bill. That's his character's name, and you don't get that until about 3/4 of the way in the movie. In fact, actually, right near the end of the movie is when you finally find out what his real name is. Up until this point, you know he's a man in a white starchy shirt with a tie, and very just generic business attire, and that's very important too to this movie, because that's how they identify him for 3/4 of this movie. Is I don't know, he had a white shirt and a tie, and that's a constant theme in this, and I think that's an important thing too, is that there's nothing overtly different about this man from a thousand other people in the city that go to work at some desk job or some office job. They all are wearing these white shirts. He has a pocket protector. He has these pens. He is not an individual.
Yeah, and then Robert Duvall's character shows up.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the police officer who is quitting that very same day.
Yep.
He has 1 day left until he's free, I suppose. But he shows up and helps the traffic cop move Bill's car
Yep.
out of traffic.
And I think you get a feel for his character right away because of the way the cop treats him.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
He's a pushover.
Yeah.
All through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's he bends over and just takes all manner of crap.
Pretty much. He goes up and he says, "Hey, what's going on?" And the cop asks, "Is this your car?" And he's like, "No." And the other guy is like sitting there going, "Oh no, I told you." The guy wore a white shirt or whatever. And he says, and he walked off into the woods over there. All he said was he's going home. And Duvall's like, going home, and then the cop says, "If you guys are going," I love the cop, what he says. He's like, "Sirs," or whatever he says, "can you guys go back to your car? We got we got a bunch of glass and steel rushing by us at high speeds." And it's like, Duvall just kind of looks at him and looks around and like, nothing's moving.
Yeah.
It's so great that this cop does that, and then he says, "Why don't we just push this off to the side?" They push his car off to the side, and
the comment the cop makes is actually very good because it also reflects Robert Duvall's character. Not reflects, but shows off Robert Duvall's character's personality.
Mm-hmm.
He's calm all through the movie,
mm-hmm.
and he's just calm and observant.
Yes.
Like that. And we're shown this when he just states the obvious calmly. Nothing's moving.
No, he's just like, and he's like, "Why don't we push this off to the side and get this moving?" And the cop goes ahead. Well, actually, this does actually show somewhat that he does have some authority ability, because he does say, "You know what?" He's like, "Okay." He's tired. He gets kind of been out of shape that the cop isn't listening to him, and he says, okay, and he pulls out his wallet and shows his badge, which this is him pulling rank over a traffic cop.
Yeah.
And he says,
and it does so in a very calm way.
He does. He's like,
not confrontational.
Okay, you're not going to listen to me, so I have to pull rank. And he doesn't do like, hey, I'm going to listen to me now. He just says, okay, here you go. Look, I'm a police officer. And then he says, you're lucky you caught me. Today's my last day. And the cop goes like, I am. They push it off. It shows Duvall focusing in on the license plate, which is theme number 3 that we constantly hit on. Theme number 1 is Bill, or Michael Douglas's character, and the way he looks and how he is. Theme number 2 is how Robert Duvall is. His look, I don't think, is as important as getting how he is as a person. And the third is that license plate, which of course says
D/Fens.
Exactly. So at the first of the movie, I don't know if you really get a feel for what that means, but it's obviously the way it's focused in on, it's going to be important.
Yeah.
And we cut, and the thing I don't understand about this, and this is maybe one of my problems with the movie at the very beginning, is that while this is going on, they cut. I believe that's the next cut is it him? Is it Michael Douglas going down and doing? Is the store take place before Robert Duvall shows up? I'm trying to remember.
Not sure.
See,
I'm echoing again.
Okay. Hopefully it'll go out. The whole thing of how this happens, you always get the sense that Robert Duvall is just behind, and everybody is just behind Michael Douglas and what he's doing.
Yeah, they keep missing him by minutes, kind of.
Yeah. And that's another theme. And the first look into Michael Douglas's character, Bill, the first look into his disgust for what's around him is when he walks into this South Korean market.
Yeah. He has to buy something in order to get quarters or something for the phone.
Yeah, he had just made a phone call trying to call a woman. At this point, you don't know who that woman is. But it goes, he's calling on the phone, and it goes to a house and shows these people in the background doing something, and the phone ringing, and then he hangs up and he looks at his pocket, doesn't have enough change. He goes across to this market, and I'll let you continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and the store owner is kind of obnoxious with him.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't want to exchange the dollar or whatever it is, and he forces him to pay for a can of soda.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be overcharging it as well, which starts setting Michael Douglas off.
Yeah. If you think about it today, this isn't an uncommon thing today. And back then in LA, it wasn't an uncommon thing. But I think what this is it's a trigger for Bill, because
it's probably something that has annoyed him.
Yes.
For years. That when he grew up, things were a lot cheaper. Maybe even a few years ago, it was cheaper. And all of a sudden, you have to pay $8 for 12 ounces of Coke.
It's 85 cents.
85. Oh, sorry, 85 cents. My bad.
He has $1 bill, and he says, "I need change." And he says, "No change. You have to buy something." And he, first off, I want to preface, if anybody watches this, we're not making fun of any nationality or anything. We're just going off this movie. He does very pointedly say, "What? what'd you say? And he says, you have to buy something. And he's like, okay. So he goes over and he goes to get a Coke. And he brings it back and he puts it down. And the guy goes like, 85 cents. And he's like, well, that doesn't give me enough money for the phone. That doesn't give me enough change. And he says 85 cents again. And then he says, wait, no, I got 50 cents and you give me back 50 cents. And that's what sparks off this thing. And I'll let you continue again.
Yeah, they argue back and forth a bit, and then the Michael Douglas character won't back down. And the store owner gets pissed and pulls a baseball bat, short baseball bat on him.
Yeah.
And Michael Douglas beats him up. And then
he...
Oh, wait a minute. He actually bashes the guy's nationality first, doesn't he?
Well, I don't know. The whole thing happens really quick. It's kind of... The guy thinks that he's about to...
He starts yelling to the Asian guy about how much money the United States sends to Korea.
Yeah, he the
uses
whole
that as justification.
The whole
or what he's about to do, really.
Yeah, the whole thing happens really quick. Michael Douglas is getting mad, and the South Korean shop owner sits there and he starts I don't know about getting scared. He's just as mad too that there's arguments going on. So he grabs the bat and Michael Douglas loses it and literally grabs the bat. Doesn't grab the man, grabs the bat, and they're fighting over it. The man falls, and then he literally puts his foot right in the middle of his rib cage and pulls the bat out and goes like, "What is this? The last stand on Fiji?" He's ticked off that this guy was going to attack him when all he thinks he's doing is making a valid point that he has $1, he wants 50 cents for the phone, and why is this such a hard concept for this shop owner to understand? And so he does. Yeah. He loses it right there. And he says, I think he says, I can't remember if he says a different country, and then the guy tells him he's South Korean, and he says, "Well, wherever, I'm sure we send you a lot of money." And
something like that.
Yeah, and then he says, "We're rolling prices back to 1963," and it's funny that they bring that year up exactly, because it almost feels like Bill is stuck in the 60s. The way he looks, the way he acts is very, I don't know, it's almost it's almost like a 50s and 60s sitcom. He's very polished. He's very, just this blank slate of an image. And this is where he starts becoming what we find out at the end of the movie. He starts bashing. He asks the price of batteries, and it's $5 something, and he asks another price, and as like the third time, he sits there, and he asks the shop owner every time how much, and the third time, whatever it is he grabs, the shop owner's about ready to say $4 something, and then he drops the price like $1, and he's like, I see what you're doing there, and he smashes the whole row, and basically just smashes up the whole thing, and then he picks up the Coke and says that he's like, how much for the Coke? And the guy says 50 cents, and he's like, sold. Puts the Coke down, shows him the $1, opens up his register, puts the $1 in the register, grabs 2 quarters, and walks out with his Coke.
Did you say 63?
Yeah, I think it was 1963, he says. Or is it 53?
That's the year Kennedy was assassinated.
You see, and that's the thing. That, I think, is trying to show that the last time he thought that things were right was that year.
Also, the year The Great Escape was released, which is kind of what's happening because he's setting himself free, kind of.
And I wonder if that isn't a hidden meaning in this movie. But he gets his coke, and this is another thing about Bill's character. We see that he's fed up and he's sick and tired of this stuff that he views isn't right in the world. But he doesn't steal the coke; he still pays for it.
It's like a principle thing, even though it's kind of hypocritical because it's already smashed a bunch of merchandise, and it's just. I think he's justifying it to himself when he's reading the prices of the merchandise. So he's just building himself up almost.
And he walks out, and I think the next scene is actually where Robert Duvall comes into play, and that whole scene up at the car takes place, which again is literally maybe 1,000 yards away from where this shop happens. Because later on in the movie you find out how close this first scene is, and I think they go back later on in the movie when they go back to the shop, and Robert Duvall figures it out who this person is, and he realizes where the starting point was and how close this was to the very beginning. But follow Bill a little bit more. He goes to this, all you can say is basically, if you look at this middle picture, it's these steps that are on this hill that are just there. Obviously it was a building or something at some point, and he goes up there because he has a hole in his shoe and he's trying to fix it. He pulls out a newspaper.
He's also walking past graffiti that says "kill, kill, kill," which is foreshadowing.
He sits down on this thing, and the next thing is these two. I want to make sure I'm gonna make sure that this is a term I can use. Let's see here.
Two thugs.
Yeah, we'll go with thugs or gang. They're definitely Spanish descent, Spanish American descent. I'm going to let you just describe this scene.
Yeah, he's basically just sitting there fixing his shoe, and two guys walk up to him, and they basically start harassing him. They want him to pay money for sitting there, and they want to keep his suitcase, I believe.
Briefcase.
But briefcase. And basically bullying him, trying to intimidate him into giving them whatever he has on him, right? Like a shakedown almost.
Well, they say they say he's trespassing.
They wanted to pay a toll. Because it's their area, and he actually sympathizes a little bit with that, because he understands that people shouldn't walk around in their yard.
Yeah, he mocks them in a way, but at the same time he's like, oh, you know what, I get it.
Yeah, and then they keep pushing, and he snaps. He uses the baseball bat on them, breaks one of the guy's arms, I believe, or shoulder, and one of them pulls a knife, and he beats the crap out of him, and then chases him and throws the club away, and replaces it with the knife.
Yeah, so the one guy pulls the switchblade out, and holds it up to him, and he's like, "You want my briefcase?" You want my briefcase? You're not getting my briefcase. And he pulls, the bat is kind of behind the briefcase, so he surprises them, and he knocks the knife out of the guy's hand because he hit the guy's hand. And that guy kind of stumbles back and starts running away. And then the other guy is just kind of, I think in the second swing, he hits the other guy in the arm or something, and that guy kind of falls down the stairs, and he throws the bat at him, and then he picks up that knife, and the first thing he says is, I wonder how they do that. Because he's never held a butterfly knife, is what they call it. It flips around if you've ever seen one of those. And he obviously doesn't know how that works because he's kind of playing with it. And you see him. And again, this is where directorial staging, as I would call it, comes into play. They very poignantly focus in on him putting the knife in his pocket.
Yes, and at this point, the audience can also still sympathize with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the first case, where he smashes the store, all of it could have been avoided if the store owner had just been nice and let him exchange the dollar.
Well, in '93 when this movie came out, and actually this movie took longer. I can't remember. There was some issue. This movie was being shot during the LA riots. That's what it was. And I don't know if you remember when the LA riots happened, or if I
just remember the term, really.
Yeah. Okay. So the LA riots happened after we had a guy here called Rodney King, and he was beat up by about 6 cops or something, and those cops went on trial, and those cops were found not guilty and acquitted. I can't remember if after the fact they were found guilty or not, but they were acquitted, and the town literally went up in a ball of flame. People were outraged because it was caught on camera. I mean, there was no doubt that he was being beat. Now, they claimed that he wasn't following instructions and stuff like that. That Rodney King had a history of drugs and other things. So there was a lot of questions exactly what we saw. But this was the first big incident of, at least here in the United States, of cameras catching cops doing something wrong. Nowadays, it's commonplace. Everybody pulls out the phone as soon as they get stopped and all that. But back then, of course, nobody had camera phones. Nobody had any of that stuff. So this was a big deal. And the way the video made it look is that he was every bit just beaten for no reason. LA riots were going on, which is kind of funny because this is literally the whole premise of the movie, is this disgust with society and things, and that's kind of what the LA riots happened. But they had to keep moving production back because the LA riots happened, and there were several times when they couldn't do it because they had rioting around them and they had to wait. But he in '93, 50 cents was probably the average price at a store for a Coke. You might be able to go to a vending machine and maybe pay less. But this is, he definitely, it feels like he's getting gouged. So you do sympathize with him.
And you absolutely do when those guys try to shake him down.
Well, yeah, because
they pull a knife on him, and
it's not just that. Like you said, he kind of sympathizes with them, and he says, you know what, guys, I get it, I'll go. Doesn't even question their ridiculous reason, which is, you see that graffiti right there, that means, no trespassing. And he's like, well, they say, he's like, I can't read that, what does it say? And he says, it says no fucking trespassing, this means fucking you. He says, oh, it says all that? But like you said, he says, okay, guys, I got it. And he just wants to leave, and they don't let him leave. So again, like you said, you can sympathize with him. He's defending himself, and that's the thing, D-Fens.
Yeah.
About this time, they switched to another scene where the shop owner's being brought in, again showing you they're one step behind Michael Douglas's character. Because
a fun thing I noticed is that the shop owner talks about the baseball bat, and
Mm-hmm.
he starts yelling, I bought it for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
D-Fens.
Yep.
That's what he yells, which is kind of cool because it, he's basically saying who did it.
Repeat themes, and that's the thing, and
Yeah.
that's why I give Joel Schumacher so much credit on the way he filmed this movie and the way that the screenwriters and or the screenwriter or the script writer and the producers, everybody worked very well to constantly hone in on the themes. So your theme of watching him upgrade his weapon, and they focus in on that. The theme of defense. He got, the shop owners brought in to Robert Duvall's character because he has come to the police station and said that that he's been robbed, and they sit him down and he starts talking about it, and Duvall's character kind of laughs about it, but he's like, oh wait, he paid for the coke. Oh, this guy's and then the other guy says, the other detective's like, "Oh, this is the wrong place to go. We're going to take you over here." And he says, "Well, you can't give this guy. He's robbery, and nothing was stolen." And he stops and thinks. The shop owner thinks for a second. He says, "Wait, my baseball bat. He stole my baseball bat. My baseball bat I used for defense." And Duvall catches that. That's the thing. Duvall catches that, but he does say. He's like, oh, this guy's discriminatory. I mean, and they said that doesn't count. And so they send him off to another place. But you get this interaction with, and there's a scene just before that where they take his gun, Duvall's gun, and you find, you're finding out that this is his last day and that they're taking everything away from him, and everybody's kind of ribbing him, and he's got the drawer full of what they say is cat litter. But he's still doing his job. He's not there to just blow off the last day. He's still there doing his job.
I'm wondering if the cat litter thing is a bit of a symbolism.
That he gets shit on?
No.
Oh.
Because they bury the picture of him and his wife.
Oh, no, that's not it. It's a picture of his daughter.
His wife is in it too.
I thought it was just his daughter, but okay.
I just thought it was what do you find in cat litter? It's shit, and he has a shit marriage. His wife is batshit crazy.
Maybe they have both in there. I can't remember. I'd have to. Yeah, that's again.
I'm probably reading too much into it.
No, maybe not. I mean, little things like that sometimes mean more than most people realize, and that's why I think that's why we do these talks. Is that it's not so much that you could be wrong; you could be spot on with an idea.
Or maybe it's me that's full of shit. Could very well be.
Like I said, though, it's very easy, especially with Joel Schumacher in this movie, because things you don't think about until you go back and you really pay attention to the movie, is that like the fact that he makes it very poignant to cut, and this movie was edited in a way that one scene is Michael Douglas's character doing something. The next scene is the cops reacting to it, but just after it happened. And the shop owner, like I said, came in, and you get a better idea of what's going on with Duvall's character. I think there's a scene where the chief of police comes over, or chief of police or his lieutenant, somebody above him pulls him in and gives him this, like he says, a predetermined talk about, hey, we hate to lose a good cop. Sure you don't want to sign up for more. And Duvall says, no, I'm going. You do meet his wife just really quick, and she's freaking out because she was packing things. And this is the point where they have the picture of his daughter in both his drawer, and he has just looked at it. And then when they go to his wife is looking at it too. And this is where you kind of get an idea of, again, more of his character, that he's either lost a kid, this kid's somebody that, whatever. We don't know who this kid is yet. And when he has to talk with his lieutenant or his chief, whoever it is, he's going through his file, and this is how you can tell how much people know about him or care about him. His superior is looking through his file, and he says, "Oh, how's the kid?" And he says, "We lost her." And he says, "Lost it?" And he has to correct and say, "Lost her."
Yeah, it's like they don't give a damn.
Exactly. He's a file. He's a number. And when and then he looks down and he says, "Well, you're still married, aren't you?" And Duvall just kind of goes, "Yep." And he says, "Well, at least that's something." This guy doesn't give a crap. He's reading from a file about this guy, and obviously they haven't updated the file in a long time because his daughter, who's dead now, is still in there, and nothing's been written about that. So I think that's kind of a little punch to him that, okay, they don't even care what goes on in my life.
It's not even that big a police station. There's not that many cops in there.
No. So that, I think that all happens about the same time that that the shop owner comes in. So there's some time that passes. The next thing that happens is these guys that he attacked on the hill are in a car, and they're pissed off, and they're driving around trying to find him. And one of their girlfriends is saying, "Don't do this, go to the hospital, your arm could be broken." They're all telling her to shut up. This is a little comedy section. It's kind of funny the way they banter with her back and forth. And they're driving around looking for him, and they find him at this at another payphone. Yeah, which is funny because this shows again where we're at today from then, is that there are phone booths all over in this movie. That's a common theme, and again, is phone booth. They find him, and they're gonna do a drive-by, and she's trying to tell him, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." And they tell her to get out, and they go to do it. And I'll let you explain what happens next.
Well, they start gunning for him,
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to hit people around him. I think there's an old lady that gets shot.
Mm-hmm. They hit everything but.
Yeah, and he doesn't even duck.
No.
He just stands there with his back to it. He doesn't even turn around.
Nope.
Like a normal person would.
Mm-hmm.
It's like his, I don't know, his survival instinct isn't there anymore. For some
Or
reason,
he doesn't care. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. He just I guess he's oblivious to it.
Yeah, he just stands there, and the bullets fly, and he turns around slowly, and people are being shot around him, and he has no reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't stop to help anyone.
Mm-mm.
Walks past them.
Yeah, and the car swerves to miss another car, and it wrecks. And he obviously knows that they were coming after him because he goes right to the car.
Yeah. Again, he's not afraid of what might happen because he hears the car crash,
Mm-hmm.
and they're armed,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them might not be injured. So if he walks up to the car, one could just pop up and shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
Just walks over calmly and just...
This is his disregard to the world around him. That he is no longer letting the world control him. And again,
absolutely.
That's the theme of this movie. This man has made a decision that the world around him that has held him down, or in his mind held him down this whole time. Everything around him has made his decisions, has made his life what it is today, and now he's not taking it anymore. He's in charge. He's his own captain of his own ship, and nothing is going to deviate him from his course. And the phone call is important at this point because now we find out what his intention is. He's now called, and on that phone call, on the other end, it's his ex-wife. We now figure this out. And maybe we don't figure out that it's his ex-wife yet, but we do know that this is a woman that he has a daughter with, and that their relationship is at least strained.
Yeah, and it's the daughter's birthday.
Yes, we find this out. And he said, it's her birthday, and I'm coming home. she has to make it a point that no, this is my place. I pay the bills. And he just says, I'm coming home, and he hangs up. And it's interestingly framed between the interactions in the car going on when they decide they're going to shoot him. He's on the phone, and right before they start shooting is when he hangs up. He's hanging up right when the first shots go off. I find that very interesting. It's almost like it's an inside look into him, and all of a sudden, after he's off that phone and he hangs it up very calmly, he's very calm about it. It's just so slowly and he puts it down very quietly and very calmly. But I think what the gunfire and the drive-by is symbolizing, more so to the point that them trying to kill him, is what's actually going on in him, is this absolute rage that is now just exploded. That his wife has told him, you're not coming here. You have no place here anymore. And outside demeanor, he's very calm. But inside, he has just exploded with rage.
Do you think it's like the rest of the world can't hurt him, but she can?
Yeah. I think it's this is his only concern. We find out now this is obviously his mission in his mind, is he is going to go to his daughter's birthday party. And now everything else around him does not matter. And again, this goes back to the first point where he gets out of the car and you can see he's made a conscientious decision that the things around him no longer control him. But the one person who has complete control over what he's trying to do is his ex-wife. And that's really what this all comes down to at the end of it, is that he lost her, and he lost control of the situation.
And his daughter, really,
yeah,
probably is what he has left in this world.
Mm-hmm. And
at this point, because he doesn't care about anything else.
No. But I always saw that gunfight right there, or not really a gunfight, but the drive-by, as he's just so calmly, right as they start letting loose, he's so calm about putting that receiver down, and then the gunfire happens, and that's literally always, to me, it'd been like an inner look into him where he is enraged, and it just explodes all at one time.
Yeah, you're probably spot on. It's just everything around him just is chaos, and noise and danger, really.
But he himself is very calm on the outside. I think.
It's basically, it was like the what we see around him is actually what's going on in his head.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly what it is. But he goes up to the car, like you said, disregard. He doesn't care. There could be some guy that's fine, and obviously they have guns. We don't know yet how many guns, but they have guns. And he walks up, and I'll let you continue with the scene.
Yeah, he one of the thugs is hanging out of the open car door at the back. He's injured. And there's an exchange of words, and he takes the bag of weapons, points it at the guy, who kind of freaks out, and then
I think
Michael Douglas calmly just shoots him in the leg as a punishment, almost.
Yeah, I think it's really important here that he walks up, guy's hanging out and bloodied. At that, he's not in great shape. Nobody in the car is actually. There's an Uzi, or an automatic weapon, and actually it's semi-automatic because of the way that he fires it. You can tell it's semi-automatic, or it has a semi-automatic switch, and to switch back and forth. But he picks up the gun, And the first shot, he hits the frame of the car.
Oh yeah, he misses.
And he says, huh. He said, or no, he walks up to the guy and he says, you missed. And he picks up the gun and he shoots at the frame of the car and he says, huh, I missed. This is his way of kind of saying, it's okay. You can mess up. It's fine. But
Also, it shows that he's never used a gun before.
well, I
Probably.
kind of wonder about that. I have thought that through, and I'm not positive that he's never used one. Because the next thing he says after he shoots the guy in the leg, he aims again, and he shoots him center of his calf, which it would have to be painful. All the blood and the muscle and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then he says,
"Never go decaffeinated."
Yeah, he says to the guy after he shoots him, he says, "Take some shooting lessons, motherfucker."
Yeah, good point.
And
But
I kind of wonder if it's kind of an oxymoron or not oxymoron, but it kind of makes you wonder, has he taken shooting lessons? Is he just trying to make a point when he misses because he's scaring the crap out of the guy because he has this gun pointed at him? But he doesn't kill the guy.
And at this point, he's also almost getting off on punishing people for trying to hurt him, I guess. Which I think is because his ex-wife just hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, in a way, punishing her by punishing the other guy.
Well, this is a turning point for him. Because we still might feel somewhat sorry for the guy because of what we've seen with his wife and what we've seen that he wants to go see his daughter, and that these guys just tried to kill him, and all he's trying to do is get across. But the tide starts to change right here because before this point he's only been defending himself. This is blatantly not defense. He picks the gun up and he shoots a guy. The guy is not going to do anything to him. This is a definite turning point in his story.
Yeah, this is assault with a deadly weapon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
So it starts with assault, then self-defense, and then assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, I'd say, the second one's more self-defense. The first one's assault, but justifiable. I'm not sure if you could argue that in court, but he could very well say, listen, all I wanted to do was buy this Coke. And then this guy pulls this, and the first one probably you could almost say was self-defense too, because the guy pulls the weapon. He just disarms him, and he never hits the guy.
Yeah.
Only thing he does is steps on his ribcage to take the weapon away from him. So even
he also has a kind of a high point in a way. Mm-hmm. This guy was kind of scamming him. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But the progression's there. This is a step up. The guy, yes, they just shot at him. So again, we can feel sympathy for his character still. But he does blatantly take a guy who's helpless and shoot him in the leg. And gets off on it. Like you said, he shoots the second time. The first time, I think, was a warning shot to scare him more. And then he shows he can miss just like the other guy missed. And then he tells him to get shooting lessons after he hits him center mass in the calf, or right in the middle of the calf. Which I think shows, hey, look, I know what I'm doing. You don't.
Maybe it's like, it's absolutely a control thing. Mm-hmm. If he misses deliberately, he's doing it to scare him, and then the guy thinks he's just a bad shot, and then he proves that he isn't. So you underestimated me, bastard, or something.
Yeah, and
he's smug about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you see it in his face. He's like, and he's satisfied. He gets satisfaction from this. I'm not really sure. As the movie goes on, he starts to lose control. But even here, he has control over the situation.
Isn't that kind of justifiable too, though? People try to kill you by shooting you in the back. They injured a bunch of other people.
I think that comes to
I'd say
vigilantism.
It's not that a bad thing to just shoot someone like that in the leg. You know?
Well, again, I think we as viewers, while we know it's wrong what he does, because here's the thing, he didn't get killed, he didn't get shot, nothing happened to him, so you couldn't go into court and say, I shot the guy in the leg because, well, I knew they were after me. Well, you got to prove that. How can you prove that? He didn't kill you, he didn't shoot you. If he was trying to kill you, he would have done it. But
the guy who got shot in the leg absolutely deserved it.
Exactly, and that's why we as viewers aren't questioning this. We know what their intention was. We do know their intention was to kill him, and that at this point, all he wants is to go see his daughter. We now know what his intentions are, and there's nothing wrong with that. And again, everything that's going on around him so far has not been because he did something. It's been because other people have done something to him. And even if you want to say that they were trying to kill him and shoot him was because of what he did to them, it's still their fault in the beginning because they didn't let him go. He defended himself. So again, we have, for us as viewers, we can still sympathize with this character because he's not doing anything wrong. And I'm sure many times things have happened, and I'm not saying we want to shoot somebody, but somebody steals something from us, so we want to go steal something from them, whatever. We've all felt that need for revenge at some point, so we can justify his actions here. We still can justify his actions. And all the way through the movie, for the most part, we can justify his actions.
Yeah, the movie actually cleverly plays on that.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
And what's funny is by doing this, again, this is why I say Joel Schumacher just has had a few bad movies, because in this one, what he's doing is he's programming the audience to feel sorry for somebody who's assaulting, who's shooting people. You are literally being lulled into this sense of now almost a world of crime. Everybody can sympathize with this guy. Oh yeah, I've felt like that before. Ooh, I would have done that too. He is showing you the fine line between being a normal citizen and a citizen that is on the fringe. You are walking that same fine line that Michael Douglas's character does, and he does. Schumacher and his editor and his producers, they do so well in this movie to show you that line so clearly, but at the same time show you that line isn't clear.
I guess they're letting him do and get away with stuff most people have thought about doing.
Mm-hmm.
Being angry.
Yep.
If you're stuck in traffic, you're like, someone please blow up the cars in front of me.
Yeah.
Keep driving.
Or
shit just, like that.
Yeah. But, who's the idiot that caused this?
Yeah.
Why aren't they actually working on this road? Why are all those why is all the road crew over there smoking cigarettes and eating lunch at 9 a.m.? Why are they taking a 30-minute break in the middle of the day? All these things. This is nothing. This guy is a microcosm of everything everybody's thought of that's been in these situations. Boy, I wish I could just do this. And he does it.
In a way, personifies everyday frustration.
Yeah, which is why I say his look is very important in this movie. He's a nobody. He's like so many other people. There's nothing distinct and different about this guy.
I mean, a white shirt is like a blank page.
Exactly. And so we as an audience live vicariously through him.
Yeah.
We sympathize. We've been in these situations. When you walk into a store and they say you have to buy something because they're not going to give you cash back. Well, why not? I have $1 here. I'm not going to give you change. You have to buy something. Why? What's wrong with opening your damn drawer? You've got 4 quarters. Give me 4 quarters. This is nothing that thousands and millions of people have gone through. This is normal. The difference is his decisions that he does are what we see in our mind. And when we think about it, oh, I'll just do this to this guy. But no, I can't do that because that's not right. This guy does it. And we're okay with it.
Yeah, his barriers are gone.
Yeah.
Or rather, they are, I guess, disintegrating.
Mm-hmm. So that whole scene happens, and we move on, and the next scene is the police station again talking about this drive-by. And they have the girlfriend in now, and she explains what they were trying to do. And that the guy wore a shirt and tie, the white shirt and tie. And this is when Duvall, who has now heard this once before from the shopkeeper, he's like, wait, a shirt and tie? And he goes in and he says, well, where was this? And he starts piecing together the direction that Michael Douglas's character's taking. And he sees, here's the shop, here's the hill, because they mentioned the hill, she mentions the hill. And now here's where the drive-by was. So now he's starting to pick up a pattern here. But they're still, again, one step behind.
Yeah.
And in this, again, we get more of what Robert Duvall's character is like. Because everybody's like, you know what? It's your last day. Just go sit at your desk, be quiet, and just write it out. Don't get involved in this. This isn't your case. This is a drive-by. This is a different thing. This isn't robbery. Go back.
And his boss even mocks him.
Yeah, because he's starting to do this, and I don't know if it's this scene or the next scene. I think it's this scene. He goes and he stops his boss, lieutenant, chief, whoever it is, at the bathroom, or no, I guess it's his office, and he says, "I'm telling you, this guy's bad news. We got to go out there and find him." Blah 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 blah. And his boss pulls him back just a second and says, "You know what? That I told you earlier, that speech I gave you, they make me do it. Here's one from me. Nobody likes you. I don't trust you. You don't curse. You sit behind you're a coward because you sit behind your desk, and I don't trust you because you don't curse." He basically calls him out right there and says, "Everybody laughs at you. You're a mockery. You know, just go. We're just waiting for you to leave. We don't want you here." And I love, again, the poignant thing the guy says is, "I don't trust you because I don't trust a cop who doesn't curse. There's not a shit or a fuck that's ever come out of your mouth."
Yeah.
And he basically lays it out that nobody respects him. Nobody. His wife doesn't respect him. The only person that respects him is the female detective, who obviously is at some point his past partner at the police station.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess you also get the feeling that it's kind of like his daughter, because he's taken her, he obviously at some point had taken her under his wing and taught her. Yeah. And you get a really sense of it's the one good relationship around him, truthfully.
Yeah, and we're also told that he has dinners with her quite often. But she says, "You want to have dinner again?"
Lunch.
Lunch, and he's happy to do so.
Yeah. So we get, again, a deeper look into Robert Duvall's character. So I've always said that they're very mirrored of each other. The difference is when we watch Douglas's character walking through this, it's what we would like to do. What Duvall's character is doing is what we should do. He's not calling his boss out. He's not confrontational with his boss. All these people are saying these horrible things to him. Just sit down. It's your last day. Oh, you remember, such and such guy died walking out. They're making fun of him constantly. They're poking him. They're ribbing him. They're calling him names. They're saying he's a coward, all this stuff. But what is he doing? He's calm and collective, and he's going about what he feels is the right thing as a cop, which is trying to find this guy and trying to solve this problem out there, any cop should do. But
Robert Duvall's character is all through the movie using common sense.
Exactly.
While Michael Douglas's character is starting to act on impulse.
Exactly.
Very dangerous.
But what this is like I said, they're basically the same person, but it's the two sides of the coin. What happens when you do this? What happens when you do this? And so even going right up to the end. That's the whole point, I think, because we see Duvall doing what we should do, and we see Douglas doing what we want to do. And about that time, I think that Duvall's character is actually convincing his former partner that there might be something about about this guy, that he's kind of gotten through to her that this is who she's looking for, but everybody else is kind of pushing him off, and she's not sure if he's absolutely right about it or not. But Duvall definitely has already latched on to what's really happening, and the next scene kind of verifies what he thinks, because the next scene is Duvall's character, I think, trying to make a phone call again. It's busy. He hangs up. He then walks into what is called a whammy burger, which is just a stereotypical burger joint. Every burger joint, McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's, whatever you have, whammy burger is that. He walks in and he wants breakfast. So we have a time of the day. Is about 10 or 11. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 10 o'clock. And he says, I'd like the whamlet or whatever. They have some funny names. And the attendant says, oh, I'm sorry, sir, we stopped serving breakfast 5 minutes ago, or something like that. Again, another ridiculous thing we all have felt. And I don't know about over in Norway, but here, everybody for a long time would stop serving breakfast at a certain time, and you could walk in 1 minute after. And if it said 10:01, they'd look at you and say, well, we stopped serving breakfast. So he brings up the perfect point. He's like, it's 10:05. You can't just make it? What changed from 5 minutes ago? It's like magic. Just at 10 o'clock, poof, all breakfast goes away.
Yeah, and you actually see a bit later that they have the breakfast meals just there behind the.
Yeah.
It's just there, so you could have just grabbed it.
It's right
No
there.
harm done.
And he has to talk to the manager, and I can't remember the names of, but he gets to know the two, and he pulls out the gun on the manager after the manager says, I'm sorry, sir, we stopped serving. And he gets pissed off, and he pulls the gun out. Everybody starts freaking out, and he takes control of everything. He says, a guy tries to run out the door. He says, go sit down. And he starts calling them names, and then he stops and he's like, why am I calling you by your first name? I don't even know who you are. And he's literally pointing out all the ridiculousness of this particular moment. It's how ridiculous is this?
Spot on.
Yes, he is. Because, hi, I'm Sheila, and this is Rick. And it's like, why am I calling you by your first name? I don't know who you are. And he goes around and he asks, how are you doing? How are you doing? And the gun goes off. Just, it's hysteria going on. And then once he's got control of the situation, he orders lunch. He changes his mind, and he orders the signature burger. We'll just call it the signature burger of this chain. And as he's waiting, he goes around and he talks. He asks this lady, "How's the food?" And she throws up, and he says, "I think we have a critic over here." And it's kind of a funny scene when he's walking around with this gun, and there's a girl, like little kids there, and he's just walking around with his gun out and talking to people. And his food comes out, and he looks at it and he says, "See, that's what I'm talking about." He points out that the picture on the menu looks absolutely nothing like what they served him, which in this case really is a very, very flat hamburger.
Yeah. Also, a very good point.
It is.
Because the pictures of food in places like that does not resemble what you're getting.
No, and I have some insight on that. My dad was in hotel restaurant management, and he says there's a reason why restaurants that you sit down at don't have pictures of food, because they let the words describe the food, and when you get it, your mind then melds the words to the food, and it becomes more appetizing looking in a restaurant, a decent restaurant that you would sit down in. The difference is with fast food, they lure you in with a look and expect the look to give you the pleasure when you get it, even
Also,
if it doesn't
they
look the same.
for the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
they put little round paper bits under the burger. The paper is kind of bulging upwards to lift the burger a bit to make
Yeah.
it look bigger.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of little tricks like that.
Yeah, it's designed to be deceptive. Plus, it's not a real burger. It's plump and all that because it's designed that way to look that way. Now, there's some chains that like Hardee's around here, and I don't know if you know what Hardee's is. It's just another burger joint, but they don't do too bad. And over time, they've tried to get better, but it's never exactly what you see. But he brings up that valid point. Again, we feel for the guy because we feel the same way.
Yeah.
This movie, again, is luring the audience to sympathize with a guy who's really out of his freaking mind by this point because he pulled a gun out around 15, 20, 30 people, whatever, and he accidentally fires it off. And there's kids in here. There's no regard for people's safety. And he threatens, as a person tries to leave the situation, tries to flee, he threatens him and says, sit down. And
there's at this point, there's a kind of like an aura of arrogance about him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing all this, disregarding all kinds of safety.
Yeah.
And just... interestingly enough, some of the arguments he made at the store and against the thugs are things he's now doing himself.
We are seeing that as much as he and us as an audience are or would feel this way, he is doing stuff now that is just as blatantly wrong. But we, again...
hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Kicking in.
We, though, as an audience, are on board still with this guy. This guy is right. Damn it. The food doesn't look right. Why do they want me to call them by their first name? Or why can't I get breakfast 5 minutes after 10? Back then, again, like I said, this is a back then thing because like here now, McDonald's here does all day breakfast, Some of these places have gotten smart about it, but these are valid complaints. But in making those valid complaints, he's doing something. He's being an aggressor doing it. He pulls out a gun to make his point in the first thing. He could have said this stuff without pulling the gun out. He could have.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, it's a hypocrisy. He is now becoming an aggressor. He is now changing from, damn it, he's right, to, well, I don't know if I would have pulled the gun out. It's funny because we laugh because, I know the times I would have, if I had a gun, damn it, I would have wanted to do that. Maybe. I'm not suggesting everybody has felt like that, but we've all felt like making our mind known, giving them a piece of our mind.
A little bit earlier in the movie, he snaps when the thugs pull a knife on him because they want his briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's okay with pulling a gun just for breakfast.
And a rule they have. All this employee is doing is saying, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. That's the rule. Yeah. And so now he has, yes, very much become that which he was fighting against earlier.
Yeah.
But it's still very vague. It's very vague. Again, it's that thin line that Schumacher does a very good job of showing, where we can see both sides. We can see the wrong, but we understand why he's doing it. We can justify it because, yes, I've felt like that before. Maybe he went a little far using the gun, but I know how he feels. So we're okay with it still. He hasn't killed anybody. He didn't kill anybody. The gun went off accidentally, but nobody died. And he gets his food and throws it back because he doesn't want it. Actually, he may have gotten it, may eats it. And the next scene is, I want to say, the cop again. They go back and they have an exchange. And now they know it's Bill. They know it's this guy, or at least Duvall knows. And he talks to his partner, and he gets his partner on board with truly believing this is who they're looking for. Because he calls her, or she calls him, to tell him who did it. She's at the Whammy Burger and goes like, yeah, white shirt and tie. And he's like, this guy's dangerous. You got to find him. And her partner now is kind of saying, what are you, crazy too? I mean, you're listening to him now? And she, they have that banter back and forth. But now we know that they know who they're going for, or who they're looking for. And again, they're one step behind. It's very poignantly framed. Here's him doing this. Now we see they're there taking reports and stuff. And the next scene is Bill at the phone again. It's busy because she's actually called the cops. His ex-wife has called the cops, and we now know the story. It's his ex-wife. There's a divorce. She has a protective order. He says he's coming home. They're taking all this information. They ask her questions about, hey, did he beat you? Did he beat the girl? And she said no, but there's times I think he would have. He was, and you find out that he emotionally abused her. All this stuff, you get a better sense of who he is and the situation between him, his ex-wife, and his daughter. But the scene where he's at the phone booth again, he comes out because it's busy and he hangs it up, and this guy comes up to him and says, well, why are you on that darn phone? There's other people that need to use this phone. What do you think you're doing? Basically the same thing he was at the beginning of the movie. Sick and tired of the world around him, and he's calling this person out. But what does he do? He pulls the gun out, riddles the phone booth and the phone, so much so that the chain starts falling out of it. He shoots it all up and looks at him and says, I'm sorry, I think it's out of order. He is now becoming everything he was against. I don't care what you think. That's the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I said. We are now seeing the coin flip. He has really now said to himself, I'm in charge of everything. I am the person who's making the rules now. It is what I say, not what you say. And in doing so, he's become the very thing he was against at the beginning. The ridiculousness of the situation. Why can't I get change for a Coke? Or why can't I just get change without buying something? Why are you attacking me when all I was doing was resting? I was willing to leave, and I'm sorry I pissed you off by being on your land or being on what you say is your land. I'll leave, just let me go. You won't let me go. I'm mad about that now. These things that you can truly 100% justify why he was doing it are, again, slowly becoming the things that he now is doing that the other people were doing to him.
Yeah.
This guy obviously is mad because he's been there for a minute, I guess, trying to call, and he needs to use the phone. And he's like, can you see there's other people waiting? Can't you just get out and let us use the phone? And he's like, no. And then he shoots it and basically takes it out of the guy's hand, says, you can't use it.
Yeah, I also think it's a clever way of showing the audience that he's losing himself more and more by abandoning his principles, really.
And what's funny is, and I say that this is a story of these two characters of Duvall and Douglas's characters, and at this point in the movie, Duvall is actually becoming more of a police officer. He is taking more of a direct stance on things and actually forcing his will to make sure the right thing is done. He is starting to transform himself at this point. He's gotten his old partner to understand that this is what this is. I'm actually onto something here. I know what I'm talking about. Because before she goes to the whammy burger, he says, "Find out who did it." And then he's figured this out. He's trying to. He's really taking a more vocal approach to this situation than he has in the past. Because now people are thinking, well, why all of a sudden are you trying? They even say it to him, why are you trying?
Yeah, it's it's actually a case of one man losing himself more and more, and the other man fixing himself.
And again, I think that follows that line, that thin line that you don't see really, and you're seeing both of them walk farther from that line. They're both on that same line, and what happens when different decisions are made? On Duvall's side, he's walking more towards the correct path and actually finding himself. And Douglas's is walking from the other direction, and instead of following the right path, he starts making rash and wrong decisions. And as he does it, he becomes more empowered in his mind that I'm doing the right thing. I'm a SJW and a social justice warrior. I'm doing this because this is right. This is how life should be. You're going to listen to me, and boom. And he's going farther and farther the other direction. And this is the point where we start really seeing the differences. Now we're no longer on that thin line. We are two different sides of it completely. The
Also,
only reason, go ahead.
I guess the more Michael Douglas's character is destroying himself, the more Duvall's character is repairing himself.
Exactly. So we start getting a definite distinction between two characters at the beginning of the film weren't that different.
No.
The world was holding them down. The world was pushing them down, and they just let it happen.
Yeah.
And I think that, one, Michael Douglas's character makes a distinct decision to stop letting it happen. Duvall's character takes a better approach and says, I'm not going to tell the world to stop. I'm going to change what's making it happen.
Yeah.
Douglas forces it. Duvall evolves it. Evolution takes time. Forcing.
And Michael Douglas is doing it for selfish reasons.
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
is
yeah. But after the scene with the gun, or with the phone booth, they go and they get to the surplus store. There's a surplus store scene with a great character. I mean, he's got some very redeeming qualities, if you ask me. The shop owner.
He's a joy, isn't he?
He is perfect. I mean, I wish I could be as much of an upstanding citizen as he is. Michael Douglas's character walks in and he sees this guy behind the register area, and he's listening to a police scanner, and you just hear about the whammy burger happening, and you know that the police are there and they're on it and all this other stuff, and Douglas asks him for boots or something because his shoe is completely shot. This shoe's been a hole in his shoe has been there the whole movie, and I think maybe that's a hole in his soul. It's kind of a microcosm of what's going on in Douglas's character, because he looks through his shoe and he can see the hole and he can see through it, and it's kind of funny when they frame it in the scene. You see his face but nothing else. It's like it's staring into him from the other side. But he changes it. He gets his boots, and he asks about which boots are better. And there's this couple, or at least you assume they're a couple.
Yeah, they look kind of stereotypical
Yeah,
in a way, which was common back then.
of homosexual couple. And the store owner is talking about the boots, and Douglas says, "Well, which of these boots is better?" And he uses some slurs and stuff about Asians, because he says one's made in Asia, and then he says, "Well, these boots here are made in America, leather, this," and talks them up and says, "These are good American shoes, good for stomping," and he calls the homosexual couple a slur, and he just you really get a sense that this guy is just really horrible. He's a really bad example of humanity. He's like the worst scum.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. And they, I guess, Douglas is catching this. He knows, and so this is part of his, this is part of his character that you can still tell that he knows what's wrong. He knows this is wrong, what this guy says, and that he's poking at this couple, and he's trying to rile them up, and one of the guys does eventually get kind of pissed off and throws down a rack of sunglasses and walks out in disgust, only because his boyfriend says, "I don't need this today." And that gives you the idea that they are homosexual. Again, that doesn't make any difference. It's the point that the shop owner assumes it, and there's nothing.
And he's goading them into doing something so he can shoot them.
Yeah, and there's just nothing overtly guaranteeing that they are. Anybody who knows anybody who has met the guy that's effeminate and comes across like maybe they're homosexual, but you don't know that. And
I guess they would say something, though, if they weren't.
You would think so, but if you're not confrontational, you may not.
It's like, I guess no matter what they would have said, the guy wouldn't have believed it or wanted to believe it. So,
but they leave the shop. Douglas goes back to the back to start putting on the boots, and Duvall's former partner walks in, and she says, "I'm with LA police, and we're checking the neighborhood, canvassing for the suspect." And she describes him, and he comes up and says, or he's in back actually when she walks in, and go ahead and describe that scene when she walks in.
When she walks in, she asks if he has seen something. Seen a man with a bag, which they now know contain weapons, and he has a white shirt, and she basically describes him, and the gun owner closes the curtains casually in front of Michael Douglas, and just shoves the bag in there with him, hiding him really, and walks over to the police lady and behaves like a bit of a shit, like sexist, really.
Yeah, he does,
and basically covers for Michael Douglas's character and protects him. Offers him shelter, really, and takes the opportunity to try and belittle the female police officer.
Calls her.
I think he makes a little bit of a racial slur as well. I might be wrong about that.
It's a sexist thing, I think. I don't think he says anything, because I think she's... I don't know what you would define her as.
I thought she looked Latino.
She does, but it's kind of one of those things. I wouldn't have. Personally, I would never assume that, especially in today's world. We're all such a mixed bag of people. It's not even funny that sometimes people overtly want to say you're this. In fact, early on in the film, when the shop owner comes up to Duvall's character, he's talking in South Korean, and he looks at the Asian detective who has brought him to his desk, and he says, "What's he saying?" And he says, "I don't know. He speaks Korean. I speak Japanese. If you haven't figured this out." I mean, he point blank says, "Why are you assuming just because I'm Asian that I know his dialect that he's speaking?" I think that's funny right there, and I just remembered that. But again, you don't overtly want to assume, but yes, she does look Latino. He says, though, he's like, "Why don't they call you officeresses?" Because, stewardess, hostess. He names off a few S's, and then he broadly moves his hands up and down and says, because, and he basically is pointing out her figure and that she's a female, and says, "Why don't they call you?" "Because and she's like, "I don't know, maybe because we're an officer and not and she does the same thing back to him, basically saying, "Because I'm an officer and I'm not a piece of shit like you." That's her dig at him, and I love it because it's like she doesn't take it. She's like, "You're a piece of shit, and I'm going to call you out on it." And she does it in the same nicety that he did, because he doesn't overtly just say, "Well, why don't they call you an officeress because you're a woman?" He just says, "Because you're a woman." And she leaves, and he goes to lock the door and says, "Good day, Officer S." And again, another dig at her. And he locks the door. Michael Douglas comes out and he asks, "Why did you do that?" And the shop owner starts going off and saying, "Because you and I are the same. I'm with you." And he's like, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he takes him back into this really creepy bunker-like area with all this creepy stuff. And he says, "I want to show you this. I want to show you this." And he grabs this mustard gas can that is empty. Shakes it. You hear a couple granules in it. And he says, "I wonder how many," expletive for Jews, so we'll just say Jews, "how many Jews this killed." And it's disgusting.
Yeah, that scene was, well, those lines he dishes out, it's just so far out there, in terms of being disgusting, that I guess it's to make us sympathize more for Michael Douglas again.
Yeah, it's definitely designed because, again, they're defining that what Michael Douglas is about to do is okay, in a sense. It's not, but you can justify it because this guy's a creep. By this time, you do see the the Luftwaffe hat and with the German Nazi eagle on it. That he has a Nazi swastika flag in back. When you go back there, you definitely know this guy's a supremacist. He's a Nazi sympathizer. He thinks everything they did is fine and dandy. Yeah. And he's showing him this stuff. He shows him the gas mask from World War II. All this stuff, and well, we assume World War II because of the Nazi symbols that are there. And Douglas stops and he looks at the guy and says, "Why are you showing me this?" Like, he's really questioning where this is going. He's like, "Why? Why are you showing me all of this stuff?" And that's when the guy says, "Because you and I are the same. We're the same thing. That what you did in that whammy burger, it was a bunch of," and he again used, this scene uses a lot of strong expletives and slurs for race. And you couldn't make that scene in today's. If they remade this movie today, oh my God. Even though the context that they're using it in this movie, which is just to show you how wrong this guy is, they would say it was wrong doing that. Well, how else are you supposed to show how disgusting this character is? It's needed. Yeah. I don't fault the movie for the need to make this character that.
No, I mean, it's way more effective than someone just saying this guy is evil.
Yeah,
you have to show it show the guy's nastiness.
Yeah, but he basically says, oh, I know how it is. They show, a bunch of white people and families on TV, and then when you walk into the place, it's a bunch of black people. And of course, he uses the expletive. And he says, hey, they're a bunch of black people, and this and that and that and this. And these are the different things that Michael Douglas didn't see when he walked in. It was a different problem for him that he had with the place. But this guy has assumed that's what it is that he did it for. He's assuming that this guy's against Latinos. He's against black people. He's a vigilante out there to right the wrongs of the world, and really
doing what he himself
wants,
actually doesn't have the guts to do.
Exactly.
All he does is talk about it, and he collects stuff that other people have used, doing what he talks about. So he's basically, well, he's certainly not harmless, but as far as we know, he hasn't done anything. He's just extremely nasty. And he seems to want to enable Michael Douglas's character to do
exactly
what he doesn't have the balls to do himself.
Well, he hands him the rocket launcher, and that's when Michael Douglas asks the question, what are you showing me this stuff for? And he takes the rocket launcher. The shop owner gets so indignant that he says, I'm nothing like you. I didn't do any of that stuff because of that. I'm nothing like. And what's funny is that Douglas isn't technically like this guy because he's a bigot, but he is like that guy because he has taken it on as his responsibility to change what's around him that he doesn't like. So he's similar, but he's not the same. Michael Douglas at this point is justifying what he has done and says that it's different.
Yeah. And at that point, it kind of is.
It is. But the shop owner decides, he starts calling him homosexual slurs. You're this, and he puts him up against a bench and gets these handcuffs that are right there and puts one wrist into the handcuff and says, I'm going to call the cops. So now all of a sudden we see kind of a flip of the script. This guy now is going to do the right thing and turn Douglas in, because he knows what he's done. And now, not for the right reasons, but he is going to do the right thing. He's going to subdue Douglas and call the cops and have the cops come. But Douglas is getting a little mad now. The guy tells him to get down, or to give him his other hand, because he's got both hands on this bench and he's leaning on the bench. And the guy has put him spread eagle, pushed his legs apart. And he says, "Give me your hand." And he says, "I can't." And the guy says, "Why?" And he says, "Because of gravity." Well, the guy kicks his legs out and he falls down to the floor on his knees. And the shop owner gets in his ear and says, "Give me your hand." And he says, "Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me." And Douglas loses it. Absolutely. This is a point when he absolutely, point blank, loses it. He pulls the knife out, slowly unfolds it, and just jabs it into the guy's shoulder. And this is symbolic, as it's absolutely too much for him to handle. Everything.
It wasn't the neck, wasn't it?
Well, it's more in the shoulder. It's like mid-shoulder, so it still probably hits an artery. No doubt that's what they're intending it to look like.
That's how Romans executed people. Mm-hmm. You know that hollow between the neck and the shoulder? Mm-hmm. They used to stab swords down there because it severs just about anything. And that's pretty much where he gets stabbed. It's almost like an execution.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't...
Right.
He doesn't...
Right.
What?
Yeah, he stabs him right in that area.
Yeah, and it doesn't kill him. It just stuns him, and he's like, what? And Douglas gets up, and he looks at the guy, and the guy kind of stands up and then falls on his knees looking at this mirror, and he says, oh my God. And Douglas pulls out a gun and says, now you're starting to get the point. Religion. And then he shoots the guy like 5 times. This is the turning point. He has now decided that he is done with everything around him. He is no longer defending himself at this point. He defended himself when he stabbed the guy. That's fine. But the guy wasn't wrong necessarily for trying to take him in. But he defended himself because the guy was aggressive. The guy was pushing against him. The guy made him fall on the floor. That was still defense. But now he has made it a distinct decision to shoot the guy dead. He hasn't done that yet. This is when we start disagreeing with him. We're okay with seeing the guy die because he's a shitbag. He's a scum.
Yeah. Also, he shoots his own reflection when he shoots the mirror.
He does.
It is absolutely symbolism.
It is.
And like I mentioned earlier, up until this point, he has been a blank slate, which is, the white shirt and his outfit. He then changes his outfit into a kind of like a camo thing.
Yeah, if you guys are watching this, if you look at the top part of the screen with the boy on it and the rocket launcher, this is what he changes into. So you see the white shirt and the tie in the middle picture, and at the end of the film, this is the outfit he's using. They're kind of like almost a fatigue type of thing, like definitely more what you would consider army wear or something.
It's like he's gone from he has basically killed himself when he kills the guy, because that's a turning point. He's committed, and he shoots his own reflection right after that and puts on the army fatigues.
And what's funny, go ahead.
Which kind of makes him a combatant,
yes,
rather than an average Joe.
He has now taken it upon himself to be the aggressor.
Yeah, and all through the movie, he has been kind of, in a way, the evolution of violence. Because he starts off with his fists.
Yeah.
Then he uses a club.
Mm-hmm.
Then he uses a knife.
Yep.
And then a gun, injuring people.
And
then he has a bazooka.
Yeah.
Which is basically how human warfare or violence has evolved since the Stone Age.
And that's a very big symbol in this movie. I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten to bring that up myself. But yeah, no, it's an evolution here. An evolution of man's violence. And we're watching it firsthand in this movie.
Yeah, and it's done brilliantly. It's probably Schumacher's best movie.
This is a brilliant movie how he did it. And what's funny is at times you kind of feel like he point blank shoves it in your face constantly, because the next scene is Douglas sitting down at the chair at the desk on a phone trying to call his ex-wife. She answers and he says, "I'm coming home." And she says, "No, the cops are here." And he says, put the cop on the phone. And she can't do it. And he says, "I'm coming home, Beth." What?
Calling her bluff.
Yeah. And he says, "I'm coming home, Beth. I'm coming home. I'm going to see my daughter. I'm coming home." And before that, he point blank explains what just happened in the scene before. He says, "I've passed the point of no return." Do you know what the point of no return is? The point of no return is where you have gone farther to where turning around and going back is a longer trip than continuing forward on the trip.
Yeah, he makes a reference to the moon.
Yeah, Apollo 13.
Which I thought was might be a little symbolism of lunacy.
It could very well be. You got a point there. Yeah, he talks about, that point where they were going on the dark side of the moon and they lost contact and nobody knew if they were dead or alive. He says, "That's where I'm at. I'm on the other side of the moon, and we'll just have to see what happens when I come around on the other side."
Lunacy used to be called moon sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's him talking about the moon is absolutely a deliberate choice from the writer.
It could very well be. Yeah, but he does it, the way he does it's so creepy that it freaks her out. Completely freaks her out. And, you know, he keeps on saying, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. And she hangs up. And the next scene is Duvall's character and his partner. Basically, he gets his partner and he's getting his stuff together at the desk. And she's like, where are you going? And says, I'm going to go find this guy. I'm going to figure this out. Because by this time, he's figured out that who he's going for. He's figured out that this guy attacked the shop owner. So he's like, I'm going back to the shop. She comes with him. Says, well, if you're going, I'm going to go with you, partner. And they go. They get to the shop. And he notices, wait a minute, this is where I was this morning when we pushed that car off. And that guy said he was going home and left his car, and he starts putting the pieces together. And so he goes up there and he sees the car again, D-Fens. And from that, he looks at the shop owner and says, D-Fens. He's like, he understands. It's this epiphany of, I know who this guy is. And they obviously run the plate. They don't show that, but they run the plate. They find out his address. His address is at his mom's house, and they go to talk to his mom. And this is really funny because his wife is much like Bill's mother. They're very similar.
Yeah.
And
they even look related almost.
Yeah, they do. And so he's talking to Bill's mother, and he starts. They're not getting anywhere. She's combative, kind of. She's like, "Get out of my house! I don't want to talk to you guys." Blah blah blah. And his partner, she's still talking to her and trying to get answers, and she's being combative and doesn't want to give him the answers. He casually walks over to this figurine setup that she has and grabs one, and she's like, "Oh my god! Oh, don't touch that! Don't touch that!" And he calmly starts asking her questions about, well, what's your favorite one? And all this to calmly get her on his side to talk to him. But what's funny is it's the same thing he did earlier with his wife. He knows this woman's personality, so he knows how to work with her. And we're now seeing redeeming qualities of his character that makes him really a good cop and a good detective. The things we haven't seen before. The things that... This is him coming into himself again, becoming what he should be or what he wants to be, and taking control of his life. And they find out that this is where we find out how bad Bill's situation is. And what's funny is at the scene where they're where the two thugs approach him on the stairs, when he pulls out his paper, it is the classifieds with the circle around one of the ads. And you don't get the reference until now, where you find out that they know he's fired. He doesn't work at this defensive conglomerate anymore. He worked for a defensive company of some sort.
Nice catch.
And I always forget about that until I watch it again. I'm like, oh, that's right. He has the classified. It's point blank told to you at the very beginning of the film that he doesn't have a job, but nobody knows it. His mother doesn't even know it. They said, well, what is, they're like, or his partner. That's what happens when you call the job. She says where he works, and she goes out to the radio, obviously, and calls in, and they say that he no longer works there. He was fired, and the mother looks at Duvall's character and goes like, where does he go every day? Implying that this trip he took that started all this was for nothing. He didn't have to go. But he does it because he has nothing else to do. It's a program. He's programmed into society that he has to get up every morning. He has to go to work every morning. And he drives this trip in traffic and drives himself mad for nothing. So we're not sure at this point if he starts leaving to go to his ex-wife's house or whatnot, because you find out all the problems, and that he blames his mother for what happened with his family. And he blames everybody but the one person who he should blame. So we're finding the person who we thought had a moral high ground, had standards, was just and right. We find out that he's heavily flawed.
Had problems for a long time.
Yeah, but that the world around him has changed, but he hasn't. This is the first show that his look everything up until this point was very 1950s. The businessman, the Leave It to Beaver. What's the husband's name? Shoot. Anyway, that 1950s, 60s man of the house, the winner of bread, the man that goes to work every morning, has the briefcase, has the suit, the shirt and the tie. This is pointing out that he stopped evolving in those times, in the 60s or whatever. There was something that happened to him early in his life, his childhood, his teen years, whatever, that his evolution stopped. And the world continued forward, but he didn't. And at this point, in the 90s, the world has become so different that he no longer fits in. And this is explained. Again, Schumacher doesn't hide his meanings at all. Because basically Douglas knows all of this, and he tells it in pieces as the movie goes on. He has just told his wife, this is the point of no return. At the moment that it is the point of no return for the character. He knows what's going on. His character is not stupid because he knows what's done. He knows that he just killed a person and there's no way back from where he's going, and he's coming home. He's going to go home. He's going to see his daughter on her birthday. And then we find out, that he caused the problems himself at home. So now we understand that this guy has not been able to cope with the world. He has not been able to evolve with the world and accept certain things happen.
Yeah. Also, a little side note about the detective partner lady. I actually looked her up. She's half Puerto Rican, half Russian.
Oh, you see?
Yeah, and also, I knew I'd seen her before because it looked so familiar.
Yep.
And she plays Arnold Schwarzenegger's love interest in Total Recall.
You're absolutely right. As soon as you said Arnold Schwarzenegger, I was like, oh, wow, yeah. And, yeah, but this is where we have all our answers now. And again, Duvall now is evolving. Evolution is slow. Reaction is quick. And Duvall's character is evolving, and Douglas's character is reacting.
Yeah.
It's a very poignant thing. If there's anything that Schumacher doesn't come out in words on screen and say, it's that. That is a hidden meaning in this, is the evolution of one and the breakdown of another.
Yeah, it's like a scale tipping.
Yeah.
It starts off it starts off balanced for both of them.
They're both in the same spot.
Michael Douglas goes down.
The weight of Douglas's world crashes down on him and it weighs him down. But now they know the sheet's off. It's not covering anything. Duvall knows exactly who he's going for. He's seen a picture. He knows the family. He knows all that. So what does he do? He now is going to head him off and head towards the wife's house. At this point, we have another scene go over to the house, and there's cops leaving, and she's like, "Are you sure you don't want to stay longer?" And the lady says, "Listen, this is the second time you call." The officer says to his ex-wife, "This is the second time you've called today. It doesn't take all day to get from wherever to Venice Beach. It doesn't take all day." And I can't remember. I don't remember the place they say he started. Wherever his mom lives, basically, is what the ex-wife tells him where he's coming from. And they said it doesn't take all day to get there. So we're leaving because obviously he's not coming. And the next scene is him walking across, or the scene before that, one of the two, is him walking across this, trying to take a shortcut through a golf course.
Yeah.
And he's just at this point, he doesn't care. He's doing what he wants. He's going to walk through this course right in the middle of everybody playing golf. He doesn't care. And these two older guys are talking, and one of them is about ready to shoot, and he sees him and says, "What the hell? Get off my golf course. What are you doing here? Get off of my golf course." And the other guy his friend already realizes this is bad news. That Douglas's character is bad news, and he tries to say, "Hey, stop!" And the guy just can't. Again, here's another microcosm of what Douglas's character was.
Yeah, and also slightly justified event, because the old guy is being a real prick to Michael Douglas for kind of no reason. He's just walking on a golf course.
He is, but again, he has a point. I pay dues. I do this. The same thing that Douglas was using, as a why is it this way? But
Exactly.
at the same time, it's the stuff that set Douglas off the first time. So he's done with this now. He's not going to have it from anybody. And his friend, this golfer's friend, is trying to get him to calm down. He says, let him go. This guy's bad news. Let him go. And he won't. My golf course. This is my golf course. I pay dues. Get off of my golf course. And then he says, you know what? I'm playing anyways. And literally, I would say that this guy's purposely aiming for Douglas. And the ball flies right over his head. And Douglas loses it. Pulls the shotgun out. And the guy ends up starting to have a heart attack.
Michael Douglas shoots the golf course.
Douglas shoots the golf course. The golf course goes flying down, goes into the lake, and the guy says his pills, his glycerin, isn't it?
Heart medication.
Yeah, I think it's glycerin, whatever it is that they take. It's in the cart, and he says, "Oh, well, isn't that too bad?" He's like, and Douglas also makes the point of, this land should be for families. There should be families having picnics here, the children playing. This land should be public land for people to enjoy the beauty, because we're in LA and there's nothing like this, except for private areas. He's really indignant about that. He says this should be for everywhere, as this guy's, having a heart attack.
He also mentions what it used to look like, which takes us back to he's stuck in this decade, right?
Yeah. And he's already shot the cart. The cart's going down to the miniature pond, whatever, and his friend is trying to catch it, which is, he knows already because his friend is dying, having a heart attack right there. And he goes up to him and he says, "No, what do you think now?" And the guy says, "Pills, pills." And he says, "What pills?" And he says, "Cart." And he says, "Oh, you need your pills. Well, isn't that bad? Your little cart's going to drown and you're going to die." And it's just so cold and callous at this point. He's like, "I bet you wish you would have let me go."
Like a smug grin.
It is. He's laughing inside now at this poor guy dying. And I say poor guy. Yeah, the guy is an asshole for using a golf ball to try to assault him. But still, this is a very different Douglas at this point. He's okay with the guy dying.
Yeah, which I guess in this case is not murder, but it's more like manslaughter.
It is. But again, they're still drawing that line where there's some of it you can go like, well, I can kind of see Douglas's point. Why wouldn't you just let me walk through the damn course? Why'd you have to, fire your golf ball at me? There's still that tinge of justification until he point blank stands over the guy and gloats that he's going to die. That he just shot his golf cart. His golf cart's going to drown down there with his pills in it, and he's happy about it. Douglas is absolutely gleeful in a sense about it. And has that smug smile and goes like, "Well, now you're going to die." And with that stupid little hat on.
Yeah. Also, a little observation. Something popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned something earlier about the graffiti he walks past early in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It says "kill, kill, kill."
Yep.
3 kills.
Mm-hmm.
And so far he's caused 2 deaths.
Yep.
Which is, spoilers. There's going to be one more.
Yep. So let's backtrack just a bit from the golf course. When the scene with the detectives at his mom's house happened, the next scene is actually the park. and he's walking through this park, and this guy comes up to him and says, "Hey man, you got $20? I need gas money." He says, and he starts saying, I drove here from something because my friend said that he had money that he owed me, and when I got here, he wasn't here, or he didn't have the money, and I'm stuck here because I have no gas, and I got to get back to such and such place. And Douglas's character doesn't believe him one bit, and he says, "Okay, well, let me see your driver's license." And he's like, "What?" He says, "Well, let me see your driver's license if you drove here." No, and the guy says, "Well, I don't have it." And he says, "You drove here from such and such place without your driver's license?" And the guy's like, "Well, yeah." And he says, "Okay, well, let me see your car." And he's like, "Oh." And basically the guy drops that story because Douglas just blows through it because he knows he's lying. And the guy said, "Well, just give me, give me something to eat. I haven't eaten in like 3 days." And the guy's eating a sandwich. So he's like, "You haven't ate for 3 days? What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you know what I mean." And this guy's really getting on Douglas's nerve. And the guy then says, "Well, you got to give me something. Give me something. Give me your briefcase." And here we think he's going to flip out because here's the briefcase again. This guy, early in the film, doesn't give up his briefcase because his briefcase obviously has something important in it. It's something of his, and he fought away these two thugs for it, and there's something important in this briefcase, and here's this guy now wanting that briefcase again. And when the first time I saw this, I thought Douglas was going to pull a gun out and just shoot him point blank in the middle of the park. Something, right? And
yeah, and arguably the guy was a lot more annoying than the store owner, for example.
Oh yeah, and you think he's going to blow up, and he's like, "You know what? Take the briefcase. I don't need it." And we're like, "What the heck?" He walks away. The guy puts the briefcase, thinks he's struck it rich, opens the briefcase, and what's in it? There's a piece of paper that's now the classifieds, which we obviously know he has no job. There's an apple and a sandwich, and that's it. He didn't give up the briefcase at the beginning of the film. Why? Now the question is there's nothing in the briefcase. What did the briefcase make any difference? And this is his inability at the beginning of the film to let go of his little world, who he is. He's stuck in a time, and the time says that this is what he should look like. He should have the briefcase. He should be the perfect man's man, the father, the head of the household. He's tried to uphold this image, and at this point he is now letting go of who he was completely, because the briefcase was a part of him, and now he lets it go. And that's the symbolism, I believe, of letting go of everything. He's no longer concerned about who he was. He has left it behind.
Yeah, I guess there's a big symbolism in with him just abandoning the briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the last thing he has.
Mm-hmm. He no longer has his clothes.
Yeah.
His car's gone.
I guess he still has his glasses, but that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, he gives it up. And the next scene is the golf course scene, which we've already talked about. At this point, it pretty much is just him. It doesn't do the back and forth anymore because no longer are the cops one step behind him. They're actually trying to get ahead of him and get to his ex-wife and his daughter's house. Duvall and his partner. We know where they're going. We know that. So no longer are they chasing him. They know where he's going. So the rest of the bits between here and there kind of go in rapid succession of him. The next scene after the golf course, I believe, is the road work, which is in the earlier scenes. He goes to this road work and he's told you can't go this way. And he's like, why? And he says Metroplex construction or whatever. I guess they're doing like subway work or something. But he's kind of put off by it at the beginning of the film, but he doesn't do anything. He walks away from it. This time this guy says you can't go this way. And he says, why not? And he says, well, because we're working on the road. And he said, well, what's wrong with the road? He says, it was fine the other day. Giving you again the implication that he is going and stalking his ex-wife. Because if it was okay the other day, he's been here recently. And obviously we now know he wasn't at work. So now we're seeing even more into him and what he's been doing. And just gets pissed off that this these people are telling him he can't go this way. This construction worker says he can't go this way. He starts walking away, and then he stops and says, "You know what? No." And he basically said, "I'm going to go this way." Drops the bag of guns, pulls out the rocket launcher that the guy now has gifted him after he died. And he pulls it out, and this little kid's like, "Wow, look at this." And this is a funny scene because he's like, "Wow." And the kid has to explain to him how to use it.
Yeah, he has no clue.
And it's so funny. The kid's like, "Oh, yeah, you got to do this. Got to pull that out back there. Got to do this. Flip up the sight and do this." And then he's like, "You got to press that button right there." And he's looking. He has it aimed down. He looks at it. He's like, "I got to put," boom, hits it, and it shoots down into the hole underneath this guy who's already running because he pulled this weapon out. And it goes down. It goes all the way down to this end where all this equipment is and blows it up.
Yeah, it goes through the sewer, which I thought was weird.
It wouldn't have done that, but it's...
Yeah, it would have blown up right below him, really.
Yeah, but...
it's fun because it goes all the way over to the... I think it's the crane or something, the most needed...
Yeah, it's one of the people...
blows that one up.
Yeah, I think it's actually all the equipment. I'm not positive. I can't remember right offhand without looking at it, but... yeah. And I mean, again, they take a lot of liberties with that scene, the logistics, the science of it, and all that. But it's funny. It's a light-hearted move by Schumacher to lighten the film for just a second, to let you breathe, but at the same time show this guy has completely lost it.
Yeah, he's actually using a bazooka near people.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna do." Why do you need to do this? You have a gun. Pull the gun out and point it at everybody and walk through. Nope. He's gonna make a point now with this bazooka, and it's just ridiculous. But like I said, Schumacher does a really good job of this, about lightening the film at this moment when it's needed, because we're getting really heavy now.
Yeah, this is the last chance to lighten it too, really.
And I can't overtly remember if this is before or after the golf course again, but it all happens really rapid succession, and either this is, I think it's after, if I remember right, but again, he's taking people's lives into his own hands now, and he doesn't care. So while it started slightly at the whammy burger, he's now outrightly doesn't give a crap. He says, "Screw it." He's mad. I'm doing whatever I want. I don't care what it does. And even more so in the lighthearted fashion that Schumacher does this in, the kid being right there makes this even more appalling, because here's this kid helping him, teaching him how to use this, and he still doesn't care because the kid could die from this.
Yeah.
He's not out to hurt the kid, but he's not thinking about the safety of the kid.
No, it simply doesn't give a damn.
No, exactly. And that's what's funny. He's letting this kid tell him how to do this the whole time. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, do this." I mean, again, funny scene, lighthearted in the way it's told, but it's scary as hell if you think about what's being shown.
Yeah, it's kind of like, almost like dark slapstick.
It is. And,
given that the bazooka goes off.
And the tone of this whole movie is nowhere near the tone of this one scene.
Yeah.
And actually, what's funny is I remember when this movie came out, a lot of the talk show circuits would play this scene. And it was funny. It looked funny. And I think a lot of people may have thought that this was a comedy or had comedy in it. It really doesn't. There are moments of quick little jabs and funny things and puns and this and that. But this is outright comedy in the middle of a very dramatic and serious movie. And I like that he does it. It's so almost overtly out of place. It's just crazy how out of place this one scene is. Yet at the same time, it's a perfect microcosm of how out of it he is now.
Yeah, he's like you said earlier, he's past the point of no return.
Yeah.
It's and this scene shows it very well.
Mm-hmm.
even more so than the golf course scene, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because this actually puts a child at risk,
Yeah.
who's actually done nothing to him.
Mm-hmm. And in the very next scene, we see it again. I do think this is after the golf course because it just gets dramatically worse and worse. And while he's not overtly going to hurt anybody in these next couple scenes, the situation he puts everybody in is a very dangerous situation. I think the next scene is him jumping over a fence. He cuts himself and he gets so pissed off. And he sees this father and mother with their daughter at this pool in this very opulent, nice house.
You know why the cut makes him so pissed off?
Because
it reminds him that he's vulnerable.
Well,
I think he's not invincible, which he seems to believe at this point.
Yeah, and also he's pissed off because he's trying to figure out why these people have this fence to hurt people from getting in. He's no longer concerned about people's privacy. He's like, well, why are you keeping me out?
Yeah, and he's also blaming the fence.
Exactly.
Put it up for him being injured while climbing over it.
And so he sees this family, this father and mother and the daughter, again symbolizing what he had to a T. He had a daughter, he had a wife. This is him. This is who he was. He sees himself as a doting father, as this person, and that it was taken away from him. So he's pissed off at first just seeing it like that. He's pissed off because of the fence, and he says, "What gives you the right to put this up?" And da 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 da. And he gets mad, and he holds the gun to the father, and the father finally says, well, actually, as he's doing that, you hear cops everywhere probably because of the explosion. And the cops are everywhere. And he grabs the girl and runs back into this pool house and hides.
Actually, a little side note about the fence.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets over the fence and is injured, he sees a family, which is what he wants.
Yeah.
So it's like his ex-wife has fenced him out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm reading too much.
No. I like I said, I think that's it. It's what he had. It's what he still wants. It's everything that he is mad about, and this is the true root cause of what he's really doing this whole day for. Is right there in front of him, and it's so close. He thinks he's so close to getting this, and he's just pissed off about the whole situation, and he takes it out on this family. And when the cops come, and he pulls the girl back in this little pool house, and he has the gun to the father, and the mother's freaking out. They're all right there, and the guy calmly, the father calmly says, "Hey, take me, let my daughter go." And there's a brief moment of clarity for Douglas's character. He's like, "What? Wait a minute, what? I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt your daughter." And he lets the daughter go, and he sees blood on her, and he's like, "Oh my God, I didn't mean to hurt you." And he shows that he cares.
Yeah, this is the first time almost we see him show sympathy for anyone.
Yeah,
it's like a little glimpse of humanity, and I think you actually see tears.
Mm-hmm.
He's like starting to almost break down.
Well, he does break down here because he thinks he's hurt the girl, and then the guy calmly explains. He says, "No, your hand's bleeding. You cut yourself." And he looks at it and he's like, "Oh yeah." "Oh yeah, now I remember. I cut myself on the fence." He's forgotten what he was mad about, all just like that. It's out of his mind. And then the guy calmly explains, "Is I'm sorry. I was just here trying to let my kid have a fun time." And he explains he works for the guy as a gardener. So now Douglas feels like he's the same type of person that he is. He has a connection to this guy because now he's the lower being. He's not the guy who owns the house. And then he finds out the house was bought by plastic surgery. And he says, "I guess I got in the wrong line of work." And then he goes in line and he talks about how he believes that he is obsolete, that his job passed him up. He's overqualified. He's overeducated, overqualified, and obsolete. He talks about all this stuff, and we forgot the scene where he gets the snow globe, and the guy is out there with the picket sign saying, I'm I'm not economically viable. the guy's trying to get the loan, and he's out in front of the bank, and all these symbolisms of the same type of guy he was. And he point blank explains that he knows what happened. He got left behind, or he lost himself. Something happened, and he even says it. I don't know if I got left behind or if I lost myself. And he talks about how he lost his wife and he lost his daughter, and he goes in this whole thing, and you now know what he's doing all of this for, and you feel sorry for him again all of a sudden.
It's like he has a little glimpse of clarity.
He does.
So a part of him knows it's him.
Yeah, he knows. And he lets him go. And the moment of clarity comes right before the final act, the final part of this movie, where he does eventually make it to the house. And if I remember right, he calls from the payphone right down the street from the house and says, "I'm here." And his ex-wife takes his daughter and runs out the back door to get away from the house because she knows he's there. He's coming, and he's going to be there any minute.
There's a very cool scene there where he walks right into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And just as he closes the door behind him,
mm-hmm.
his ex-wife and the kid emerges from the side of the house.
Go out the back door. She's kind of hiding, and
I think she actually doesn't realize he has just entered the house.
No.
And he enters the house with his shotgun in his hand.
And
which is disturbing too, since his daughter would be the first one to greet him, right?
Well, we know that he's going to hold his wife hostage, and again, this is unfortunately a very realistic scene in some situations where while he wants to see his daughter, he's going to hold his wife hostage right there in front of his daughter, and his wife's going to be completely scared shitless. And what is this going to make his daughter do? Well, yeah, his daughter's going to be happy to see him, but she's going to know something's not right. Kids aren't stupid. And so he gets into the house and he looks around. They're not there. He sits down and he starts watching home videos.
Yeah, and in all those videos, you see him be downright controlling and abusive, and his wife is afraid of him.
Yep.
And he also makes his daughter cry.
Mm-hmm. Well,
by ordering her to do this and that so he can take pictures.
Yeah, the recording's going on. He's like, I'm trying to get her on the hobby horse, or she's on a hobby horse, and his daughter doesn't want to be on there, so she's crying every time his wife tries to put her on there. And so his wife is doing what she should do, which is take her off. Since she's not happy to be on there, she's just trying to take him off. He's mad because he spent money on this horse, and the kid doesn't want it, and the wife won't put her on the horse so he can take this video. And so he starts yelling at her, just put her on the damn horse. This is her birthday. I'm trying to make this a happy situation. And the way he says it, you're like, well, dude, you're being a complete dick. I mean,
yeah. And who are you trying to make happy? Is
exactly.
The daughter or you?
Exactly. And the next video we see is of his wife and him and his daughter on the pier, or at least him and his wife. And she's looking at him with that look of, I'm scared of you. I don't like you anymore. I don't want to be here. And he says, why are you unhappy? This is your favorite place. And that sparks this, oh my God, I know where they're at. They're at the pier right down the road.
And all through the movie, it's pretty clear that he simply can't deal with any changes.
No.
Because he gets that hobby horse, assuming she's going to be happy. And his wife used to be happy, so why isn't she happy now? Things have changed. He can't deal with it.
Well, the whole point, he says he's going home. I'm going home. And then when he gets to home, he finally realizes that when he makes it there, that there is no home. That, everything he's desired, everything he spent his whole day, his whole life trying to realize, doesn't exist. It's a figment of his imagination. his wife won't be coming back to him. His wife isn't going to take him back. His daughter, when he does finally see her, is happy to see him, but he knows that his daughter's not going to be close to him. The situation he's put himself in is going to make sure that that doesn't happen. He's not welcome anywhere in the city. He's not welcome in the world. And he finally realizes that his wife and his daughter aren't going to welcome him. Everything is a false promise to him. And the American dream that he grew up with, where he stopped evolving and stopped moving forward, that image that he's been trying to keep, the suit, the tie, the white shirt, the tie, the briefcase, the going back and forth to work even though he's no longer working, all of this that he was taught and raised on is a complete fallacy. He's never going to get it. This is the moment where he realizes, I'm not getting this. This isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And
it's actually mentioned earlier when he realizes, what was it? Someone worked as a plastic surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
It makes, yeah, it was the other family, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The guy who lives there works as a plastic surgeon, and he makes a hell of a lot of money. And he was doing what he was told to do, and that would promise that promised him a good life and all that. And he didn't get it.
Exactly. And he realizes that fakeness, because that's what I'm pretty sure that's what they're trying to equate with plastic surgery, is fakeness. Bought all of this, all this huge amount of, all this money, this nice house, this wonderful pool. Somebody who is helping other people be fake, not themselves. It's all a sham. Everything he thought.
Yeah.
And at that moment at the house, he starts realizing all this, and he gets the tape, and he realizes, oh, I know where they're at. He goes to the pier because that's Beth, who's his wife. That's his favorite place. He runs there. He finds her. He holds her kind of hostage. He kisses her, not she, but he holds her. He hugs his ex-wife, and she's just numbingly scared. She can't move. She's so scared that he's found her, and she doesn't know what he's going to do, because she doesn't know what he's done, but she sees that, he sees he's not right, and she's
before that he shoots the cop.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they get there and he shoots her out in the backyard. That's right. Thank you.
Taking it from him, but he still pushes on, and his partner, who is injured, gives him her gun.
Yeah. And
which means he has no, which is kind of
he leaves the guns behind.
He has no problem shooting a woman at all. He doesn't kill her, but he just shoots her and just runs away like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, nothing matters anymore to him. He's just trying to get to this home, and he's slowly realizing, like I said, it's not there. He gets, he gets to the pier, and Duvall's chasing after him. He gets to Beth and Adele, his daughter, and like I said, he goes and he hugs and he kisses his ex-wife, and she's just letting him do it because she's scared to death of him. And you really see the fear here. She's shaking. She's catatonic almost. And she's more worried about her daughter now. She doesn't care about herself. She's just worried about her daughter because she's afraid he's going to hurt their daughter. And, they're sitting down. I can't remember if they get ice cream for the daughter or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But they're sitting down, and Duvall just comes up quietly and starts talking to him to cause enough of a diversion that basically the diversion...
He actually gives the daughter popcorn.
That's what it is, yeah. And he goes into, that he had a daughter. And he talks about his wife, and he talks about how bad his life is, and how people think he's a fraud or a scared cop. In all this. He goes through his problems. He's trying to explain.
He's actually making himself vulnerable in front of Michael Douglas's character in order to make him lower his guard,
Mm-hmm.
to ease his tension, to make him think he's not a threat. And as Michael Douglas is, I think he's hugging his daughter or something like that. He discreetly opens his jacket a bit so his ex-wife can see that he's carrying a gun,
Mm-hmm.
and showing her he's there to help.
Yeah.
It's just like a brief flash as he's walking past her, just flicking his jacket open a bit and showing off the gun.
Yeah, and Pendergast.
And this is where Robert Duvall is a full-blown cop.
Yeah. He's doing his job, and he's out in the field doing it. The things that people told him he doesn't do. He has a gun. He is out. He's basically showing, I'm not scared. I'm going up against a guy that's been killing or causing havoc throughout this whole city or a portion of this city, and he's full on cop mode, and this is showing you that he has finally taken full control, and he is accepting that, yes, I understand what I've done makes me look like a coward, makes me look like a desk jockey, but that's not what I am. I am a cop. And he takes this whole situation on himself because his again, mano a mano, that's what this is. This is two different men that are the exact same in some senses, but they took two different paths. Duvall's character, creates enough of a diversion that that Douglas's ex-wife grabs the daughter and they run off. And at that moment, all hell breaks loose.
Yes, she also Michael Douglas puts the gun down.
That's right.
And she kicks it away.
No, she throws it out in the ocean, I thought.
Yeah, she kicks it first away.
And then Duvall throws it.
No, the wife throws it.
Oh, does she? Okay, I couldn't.
Yeah. Duvall pulls his gun.
Okay. And
Michael Douglas.
And of course, when she grabs it, that's what causes it. And he goes to grab her, and then Duvall pulls the gun. It happens so quick and everything, and then she grabs the daughter and runs off. And he tries to run after him, but he understands. He at this moment, Douglas realizes that it's all gone.
Yeah.
Everything he's hoped for is gone. His wife won't care for him again. His daughter's now completely scared shitless of him. It's all gone. There's nothing left. And
that's where he actually dishes out the best line in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at Robert Duvall kind of like he has a realization.
Well, Duvall tells him he's going in. It's the end of the line. I'm taking you in right now, and that's say it.
Yeah, and then Michael Douglas looks kind of.
He's bewildered.
Looks like he's realizing everything, and he says, "I'm the bad guy. How did that happen?" It's just like he's almost shocked, and just.
And he also says, I did everything they told me to. They lied to me. And that's the realization that there is no home. Everything he was raised on, everything he believed in, is a lie. And that he is, in turn, turned to the very thing he didn't want to be.
Yeah. He's actually done everything he accused others of doing all through the movie. And at this point.
Yeah, and then if I remember right, Duvall Pendergast, the cop, says something like, he says, "Is that what this is all about? You're mad because you got lied to?" And then he says something like, "Hey, everybody gets lied to. They lie to the fish." Because he talks, I think this pier is where Duvall says he used to go and fish off of the pier too, or something like that. They both have a connection to this pier, and basically, one guy goes like, "They lied to me," and he feels belittled because he got lied to, and Duvall basically says to him, "Hey, if that's what they do, if you didn't realize this by now, that the world lies to you, They sell you sex. They sell you, glamour on TV and in movies. They sell you all this stuff. But you do know they're lying to you, don't you? I mean, he's like, why do you think they wouldn't lie to you?
Yeah, he probably doesn't, because he was told what to do, and if you do this, you'll have a good life. And then he just stopped.
Yeah.
He stopped developing.
Mm-hmm.
He just blindly accepted it. And as soon as he, got a job and a wife, he was like, this is it. This is what it's supposed to be. I got it now.
Nobody told him.
He then just stuck there.
Mm-hmm. And nobody told him how to evolve if that broke down, or how to move forward.
Yeah.
Then, Douglas's character has his hand in his pocket, in one of the pockets of the fatigues, or whatever you want to call them. He says, I still have a gun. And Pendergast starts shaking his head and says, don't do this. Don't do this. And he talks about, I think, makes a reference to Old West.
Yeah, he wants to draw.
Yeah, that on 3. And he says 3, 2. And he pulls his hand out of his pocket. Duvall shoots him, and you see that he doesn't have anything. It's just that his hand is in the form of a gun. So
no, he has the.
Is it a water pistol?
Yeah, the water pistol.
Yeah.
His daughter was playing with.
Yeah. And at that moment, I think they both. Bill, or Douglas's character, realizes that for the first time in this whole day, and maybe his whole life, that he's finally found somebody who really understands him, or at least perhaps his perspective on life. These people are the same. Duvall understands what caused this. Duvall understands why. He doesn't agree with it, but he understands them. And at that moment, I think he finally, even though he's basically dead,
It shoots him right in the heart.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, but you see in his face, he's like, he's okay with it. Then he's like, he doesn't. It's not like he's shocked. It's not, he wants Duvall's character to kill him. He's done with life now. He realizes everything he thought, all the hopes and dreams, everything was fake, or that at least he feels like he was lied. He feels like he was belittled, and he's okay with dying. But you see it in his face that.
Also, Robert Duvall
Mm-hmm.
tells him that you came here to kill your ex-wife and your daughter, which is kind of eerie, but it's probably the truth.
Well, if you think about it, it probably is, because in the situation of no return, he probably would have killed himself, his daughter, and his wife. That's typically how those situations, when they get that bad. You see, we have these situations in real life. That's probably why this movie is so good, is that this happens. And too often, the time, these things turn out exactly like Duvall says. And Douglas kind of agrees as soon as he says it. He doesn't deny it. He's like, okay, I guess I kind of see where you're going with this. Yeah, you're probably right. And yeah, I mean, but I think Douglas's character dies at least feeling like somebody understood him, somebody got him. And again, he knows that he's signing his own death warrant when he pulls the water pistol out, because he knows what Duvall's going to do, so he does it on purpose. It's it's suicide by cop. That's what we call it here in the States.
Which is the third kill.
Yeah,
that was hinted at in the graffiti.
Yeah. But, yeah, exactly. That kill, which, like you pointed out earlier, and that's very much, this is the third absolute death. We're not sure about the golfer, but...
Yeah, the third kill caused by him.
Yes. And, yeah. And, that's basically the end of the movie. Duvall's character isn't rattled by this either, because he's now a full-fledged cop again. He has taken control, and he is doing what he was trained to do. So he isn't going like, oh my god, I just shot somebody. He did it because he had to, and he knows it. He doesn't feel remorse about it, because he knows this was the only way. He took a shot, even though the guy was unarmed. He didn't know that, This is an important thing that most people here in the States, when they think of police brutality or when somebody gets shot by a cop, they don't think about what did that cop really feel. Nobody would have questioned had he not, nobody questions why he shoots Douglas's character here. This is why you don't pull anything out of your pocket and say you have a gun or act like you have a gun. This is why you don't do it, because they're trained to do this.
No sudden moves.
Exactly. So Duvall does what he's supposed to. The next scene is, of course, the typical end movie where all the cops and reporters are out front of the ex-wife's house, and they're being taken back in and talked to, but so they can close the investigation out or whatever. And the chief of police or the lieutenant, whoever he is in front of the camera and talking, I'm glad we all worked together as a team, blah, blah, blah. And Duvall's character walks by and he says, oh, and it's because of Pendergast right here. And Pendergast looks at him and says, fuck you. And this is the term right there where he basically says, you don't trust me because I don't cuss? Well, take this.
Yeah.
And it's a jab at him. And then he talks to his partner, and his partner says, well, it's kind of a crazy last day. And he says, yeah, well, I'm not really looking forward to going home. And she's like, why? And he says, because I'm going to have to go home and tell my wife I'm not quitting.
Yeah.
Because he's found himself now.
And he also does a little nice gesture, I guess, to the ex-wife. Because he walks up to her and says, he basically says the guy's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But, and he tells her not to tell the daughter,
mm-hmm.
because it's her birthday and he wants her to have a birthday party. And
mm-hmm.
make sure that day isn't associated with her father dying.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's very true.
Yeah, and then it switches to the TV again,
mm-hmm.
which was left on by Michael Douglas's character,
mm-hmm.
and you see a little bit of a family video,
mm-hmm.
and that one, all of them are happy.
Yeah,
there's no yelling, and they seem like a happy family, which is I'm unsure what that means, but it's probably
important to remember the happiness in your life and not focus on the bad. That's, I think, really what it's saying. It's saying that Douglas only focused on what was bad, what was going wrong, and never focused on...
when he looked at the video, he only saw bad stuff.
Exactly. And this is showing now that Duvall's character is seeing all the good, or the things that can be. Maybe not Duvall, but it's trying to show you that just because you see bad doesn't mean it's all bad. That these three people, Beth, Adele, and Bill,
or maybe give it time and you'll see good things too.
Mm-hmm.
Because the good bits were later on the tape.
Yeah. So.
Something like that. I don't know.
No, very much so. And that's the ending scene, and it pauses, if I remember right, on all of them smiling.
Yeah.
Or screen freezes, whatever you want to call it.
Or maybe it could mean that now all of them are happy.
Yeah.
Because the wife and the daughter are safe.
Yes.
And someone finally understood Michael Douglas, and he's dead, but he still kind of got what he wanted.
Yeah.
Someone understood.
Well, his daughter will now never have to fear him, but as she grows up, she probably won't remember this. And then again, if his ex-wife does not associate this day with his death, if they don't really fully give her the idea of what happened to him, which, yes, when she's older, she could figure it out, but that family will be happy now. And she'll have good memories of her father still, probably. Possibly. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But no, I think it's very much, yes, if you give it time, or not everything is bad. And you have to look at everything and take it for what it's worth.
Your focus determines your reality.
Yeah.
Like they said I think it was Star Wars, Liam Neeson said it.
Mm-hmm.
True. It's true, though.
Mm-hmm. You'll find that a great many things depend on your point of view.
Quite right.
Yes. With that said, let's get to some some ratings. I believe we're going to do a 1 to 5 each of us, and between the two of us, we'll come up with a 1 out of 10 rating. Right? Is that what we decided?
Or rather, 0 to 10.
0 to 10, yeah.
If we ever watched a really bad movie,
There's a possibility. In fact, we might do it just out of the sheer want to. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what do you give it?
I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay. And
Because I think it's not a movie that's too rewatchable.
it's been quite a few years since I've watched it, and I just the other day, before we talked about this, I watched it one night. I was like, I haven't watched this in a while. And as long as you give it time, I mean, time, like several years is how long it's been since I've watched it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But no, it's not a every week, or I don't know. It's not a popcorn flick, as most people would call them, where you can watch it 1,000 times over and over again. Action flicks, whatever. It's definitely not one of those. No.
I will say it's probably a movie that each time you watch it, you might notice something new.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
In that sense, but yeah, I think it's a very, very good movie, but I don't think it's like a huge masterpiece.
No, it's done very well. It's a very, what I would call, tight movie, meaning that it's well thought of.
It's rock solid, and all the actors do their jobs really well.
Yeah.
Maybe Michael Douglas's best performance.
It is
Could be.
constantly. He said when he took this role, he was immediately excited for it. They told him to look, and if you remember back in the '90s, his hair, the way it looked, and if you know Kirk Douglas, his dad, they had good hair. They had nice hairstyles and stuff for the time, but they were afraid that Michael Douglas would not want to cut his hair. And as soon as he saw the rendering that people had of the character and all that, he was on board right from the get-go. They said he was like, yeah. The next day he showed up and he had his hair cut already. He went full into this role, and he to this day says this is his absolutely favorite role he has ever played.
It's like it's probably not the role he will be remembered for.
Probably not.
Kind of sad, but I guess it's like, Harrison Ford says his favorite movie is Mosquito Coast,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit similar, really, in a way that it's a damn good movie, but it's underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with a 4. 4 out of 10.
4 out of 5.
It's a rock solid 4, though.
Yeah. 4 out of 5 from you. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 too. This is not a 5 out of 5 movie, no matter how you do it. I just don't see. I'm not really sure if I could tell you what a 5 out of 5 movie would be, but this is definitely a solid 4 out of 5, like you said. The way they constructed this film, the way it moves, the way it at the beginning it goes back and forth to show you that the police or the people are just one step behind this guy, and the evolution of his complete breakdown, and then the evolution of Duvall's complete rebelief in himself. All of it was constructed so well and placed together so well that it's hard to think that Schumacher did this movie when you think of Batman and Robin. You kind of try to figure out, how does a director get from one to the next? But this movie is absolutely a very good tale of a microcosm of the world we live in, especially now. Back then, it was beginning, but we're coming into this more and more these days, of these complete loss of of ideas from an old world, or people that justify certain things because they think the world has slighted them or whatever. These mass shootings, most of the time, these people feel like they...
It's an entitlement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone said this would happen to you. These are all the good things you will have.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as soon as you don't get them, you blame society
Mm-hmm.
for not giving you something someone said you would have.
Well,
You know, it's
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a growing thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I
Someone
think
else
it's
is always to
because
blame.
as a child, even as a young adult, and as you go through, this thing I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, you don't understand why I'm doing this. They're like, I don't want to do my chores. I says, I'm just teaching you how the world's going to treat you. You're going to go to work, and you're not going to want to work every day, but you have to go and do it. And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, your boss is going to fire you, and then you won't have a place to live because you won't have money. And you got to teach kids early on that if you work hard for things, those things come for you. But the thing is they lose the meaning behind it. So when you get older, you remember you were told that you were going to get these things, but you may not remember what you were told to do to get them. America,
Yeah,
back when this ideology of
we
the
have the
family.
participation trophies now too.
Yeah, well, that's true, and that's a horrible thing. There are definite winners and definite losers, and that's
Yeah.
okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with teaching your child. There will be a day when you'll play a game, or when you'll talk to somebody, or somebody will get a promotion above you. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter
lose
if you're.
with dignity, and they'll invite you to the game again, and you'll have a second chance of winning.
Mm-hmm. And that's just life. But what happens to Douglas's character here is he forgets all the things he was told he has to do to get there. And he's forgotten that even though it's been taken from him, he could get it back. Duvall's character does do that. He has lost himself. He has lost his confidence. He's being called names and all that. And instead of lashing out and saying, well, society promised me this, he realizes he has to go out and do it himself.
And he even puts his foot down
Mm-hmm.
with his wife as well.
Yeah. And he takes control of his life and makes it right again. And that's the difference. He didn't expect society to do it. He knew he had to. And that's the thing. You have to teach kids these days that you won't always win, but that doesn't mean that it's over. You just pick up the pieces and you go forward, and you remember the next time you go in the same situation, be it a game, be it a promotion, be it whatever, that next time try harder. Or next time study your opponent better. I mean, that's the one thing in martial arts they always tell you is if your opponent beats you, that you need to understand your opponent better.
Also, next time it happens, you'll know it's not the end of the world because you've gotten through it before.
Unfortunately, I will quote The Last Jedi here, which people will kill me for, but it is a good quote from that movie, where Yoda says that the best teacher is failure.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And it's not just that movie. It's many movies have brought this point out. But when you fail...
In my case, it isn't, because I actually peed on an electric fence twice.
Oh, well, you didn't learn. That's called inability to learn from a situation.
I know, shocking, right?
Yeah, I've heard that can be a painful experience. Kind of questions your manhood, doesn't it?
Oh, I realized it was there. I felt it, but yeah, I haven't done it a few times.
So, what we do is we'll combine our scores for an out of 10. You had 4, I had 4. That makes it an 8 out of 10 movie, and I think that's very reminiscent on a 10 scale.
Close to the IMDb score as well.
Is it? Yeah.
7.6.
Okay. Yeah. See, I mean, and again, well done movie. I mean, again, Douglas took this full on and just gave it everything it's worth, and again, to keep you on a side of such a character as Douglas's character in this movie for well over 3/4 of the movie, and even some way you could say right up until the very end, you're with him. That takes a lot to do. And that's a lot of that's much to the credit of Douglas, because he doesn't ever full on give you the vibe of he's a horrible person. There's questionable parts of it, but,
Yeah, like his ex-wife said, he has never laid a hand on him.
Yeah.
but she thinks she will, and also his mom says that she fears the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that could just be his mannerism.
It could.
Uh, we simply don't know. It's up for interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everything is always up for interpretation. So, well, with that said, Steve, you can go ahead and plug your channel or plug where they can find you. You're a great person to find on Twitter. If people haven't followed you or whatnot, you post some interesting stuff. You do your daily good morning, as I call it. Happy, good Monday to you or whatever. Today was a great video you posted. You always post great music in that. So, I would think if I hadn't followed you yet, I'd love to follow you because that'd be a great thing to get every day. So why don't you tell people where they can follow you? And
I try to post something positive now and again.
Oh, yeah.
But even though Twitter is a cesspool.
It is, but you try to make it better, and that's all you can ever do.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell them where they can find you? Tell them about your YouTube channel because the ducks are important. We gotta remember the ducks.
I have a tiny YouTube channel with 5 videos that I made simply from peer pressure because I realized after I've been on a bunch of streams on your channel and Mary Mayhem and all that,
Mm-hmm.
I had 100 subs and nothing on it on the channel, so I just made a few videos. And if you have 2 minutes to spare, you can binge the whole thing and hope you'll find it a little bit funnier, maybe entertaining. I don't know.
It is entertaining.
Other than that, I'm not really a YouTuber. I'm just a friend of the family.
Yep.
I guess.
Tell them where they can find you on Twitter.
It's Stig Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you want to give out your personal phone number, address, email?
No.
You don't want to do that?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't think.
A later video. We'll get to that later. So tune in next time. Maybe you'll get his information.
Yeah, we'll do like an address and phone number reveal.
We could reveal one number each one of these and one letter of each. I mean that
we can have numbers hidden.
Oh yes. Again, like last week, there were hidden meanings in last week's video that you have to go back and watch, or last time's video, and you'll have to go back and watch and make sure that you catch all those hidden meanings to know what his videos are really about.
Yeah, and the person who figures it out wins $1,000.
Ooh, that's worth it. So check in next time on Movie Talk with Chris and Stig. With that said, I appreciate you very much for coming here, and I'm trying to remember to pronounce your name properly from now on.
It's okay. You can call me Bert if you want.
Bert?
To.
Okay, Bert. And Ernie?
Yeah.
Is Ernie there?
No.
No. Oh, okay. No. All right. I always love these conversations. Again, if you liked this video, hit the like button, hit the bell next to there, so you know when we're coming out with more content. Leave a comment down below. If you didn't like this video, by all means, I don't disapprove of the down thumb, the no-go. But I do ask that... Oh, go ahead.
If you think we did a shit job, just tell us why.
Yeah.
It's perfectly okay.
That's all I ever ask, is leave a comment, let me know why. And no judgment here, But if you liked it, by all means, let us know what you liked about it. If you think there's things we missed over, we were talking before we started that you had gotten a comment about some things we could have done different or more in depth on the RoboCop, and it helps. It helps us understand what we should hit on.
It was a great comment from a viewer.
Yeah,
pointed out something we skimmed past, really, which we kind of missed. It was weird that we missed it too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we touched it and then we left. It's like boom.
Yeah,
and it was probably something that could have been more in depth. So, yeah. So by all means, we listen to comments and put those comments down below. Even if you liked this video and you think there was something, leave that comment. It always helps. So, With that said, I'm Chris Knight. This is Stig. This is Movie Talk with Chris and Stig. And with that said, everybody have a good day, and we're officially out of here. See ya.
Hey guys, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to subscribe to both channels, and make sure to check out our friends in the Fandom Minutes. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and BitChute, and you can also send us an email at sean@seanstackhousereacts.com and Chris Knight at therealreview3000.com. Be sure to swing by our Teespring store to pick up some awesome merchandise.